How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VGWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Ara Still.
Fenurian.
And Volasal, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week. But first of all, if you would like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesbtw@gmail.com, which we will read live on air, or alternatively, you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesbtw, or you can join us in our Discord server where you can most reliably communicate with us. You can talk to the show hosts, other listeners to the show, and so forth, and basically see all of the spicy memes that Aristotle posts.
And it is basically, I don't have a Twitter, but I have Discord, and so I can just take my meme collection and put it there.
Twitter is a good thing. Like, Twitter is a cancer, so...
It's like what I would normally post on Twitter. People on Twitter don't give a crap what I have to say. I don't know those people. I'll dump it to the people that I actually talk to. This makes more sense to me, but apparently this makes me weird.
I'm not alleging that it's weird. I'm. It would be more accurate to say that I think that the only people who are capable of digesting the material that you post are the people that know you.
Oh boy. So, on the stream today, I'm playing a bit of Factorio version 1.0 because they finally launched it. This whole bit here that I'm actually doing right now with the whole crash spaceship is entirely new to me.
I see.
So, it's been a little while since I've played it. Alright, so I'm just going to leave that hanging. Everyone, I think, pretty much at this point really knows what Factorio is all about. So we'll just...
It's very, very popular amongst the person who listens to our show.
The person, yes.
There are persons, there are two of them.
On a good day.
Oh wait, we get coal out of rocks now? Yeah, please say yes.
Traditionally, yes, you get coal out of rocks.
No, but on this game, the surface rock, last time I played it, would give either regular stone or nothing. So that's handy. You can get a nice little bulk injection. Anywho, so we'll just jump straight into weeks, I thinks. Oh boy, my week has been a lot of fun.
That sounds like it's been the opposite of a lot of fun. When
yeah,
you
that
say
sounds like
that's always the way
like
that means. So yeah, I'm basically, aside from one guy we kind of shipped in from Townsville to help out, I'm kind of running the whole show up here at the moment on my own, in terms of work.
I'm noticing a trend that R3 works.
It just kind of gets in the way of life in general.
Well, not that. It's that we all wind up running the show.
Well, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. In our case, it's because it's family businesses, and we got to carry our part of the load. In Vol's case, it's because he works for a completely inept company.
Yeah, well, we don't know. Well, technically speaking, it's not inept anymore because there's nobody in charge now.
I mean...
That's one way to remove the ineptitude.
That is correct. So yeah, on the plus side though, I've had the house to myself, which basically has enabled me to, whenever I actually do have time, is to sit down and watch Warhams at high volume.
It is extremely silly.
It is unbelievably silly. It's the sort of thing that if someone could just hear casually, they'd wonder what on earth it was. So for those...
About his legs.
And my legs.
It would be one of those things you don't want your dad to come in and go, "Are you winning, son?"
Are your legs winning?
Yep.
Do you worship my legs? Yeah, so those who haven't encountered it, Warhams is a Warhammer 40k D&D game being run by the people who make Emperor's text-to-speech device in that universe. It is it's as ridiculous and insane as you might expect from that lot. It's actually quite impressive. They're really becoming really good voice actors.
Yeah, they're starting to really find a groove with it. I mean, the quality of the voice acting varies pretty significantly, and some of them are pretty heavily cliche, but they've managed to assemble quite a good cast of amateurs there.
Yes. That you compare text-to-speech when it first started out, it was like Alpha Booster and 2 or 3 other people. And I think the Emperor actually was a auto voice at that point.
Microsoft Bob.
Microsoft Bob. But yeah, they've come a long way since the beginnings, both in terms of animation quality and voice acting talent. Also silliness. Don't forget the silliness.
I'm not sure the world can handle it getting a lot sillier.
I don't know. Apparently there's a new episode, or the next episode's in the works, and it involves clowns.
I see.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be set on Comora. So that's going to be fun. Everyone knows what Comora is, who's familiar with 40k.
Why would... What sort of lunatic GM would send a new party to Komora?
Oh no, that's the actual text-to-speech episodes on Komora.
Oh, okay. Well, they're already there, aren't they? Like they arrived there out of the warp
somehow
after Keldor Drago ate a son.
Oh yeah, he did do that. Yeah, there is logic. But the problem is a lot of the very silly logic that they come out with text-to-speech, it still fits in the 40k canon.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's not necessarily as grimdark, but it is pretty grimdark.
It is still pretty grimdark.
but it's got a bit more of a silly veneer over top. The way, it's sort of like an expansion of the silly veneer that covers the orcs at times over the entire thing. With a few, outright silly insertions like Vulcan, for instance. But
Vulcan is peak silly.
Speaking of Warhams is basically a side story to the main text-to-speech device narrative, which follows a group of Imperial functionaries, basically, who are drafted into the Great Crusade that is being led to terror by Corvus Corax and Vulcan.
Mm.
Which is why they have mandatory hugs.
Yes. Also, Vulcan, for some strange reason, is sharing body with an orc ghost.
I've never actually read that storyline, the Beast storyline, so I don't actually know how that's supposed to happen.
Oh, that bit is canon?
Oh, yeah, the Beast storyline is canon, yeah.
Oh, jeez. I thought that was them being really silly, but no.
The part about Vulcan having his brain fused with an orc war boss may or may not be true. I don't know.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing. There, it's just so hard to tell. One of these days, I might actually have to sit down and learn how to play 40k.
I don't know how to play it anymore. I learned during 3rd edition, and it had its wonky moments, but it was relatively straightforward. But it went through some pretty severe contortions after that point. They released an edition 3.5, which changed a few rules, but not very many, and it seemed like it was strange that they bothered at all. And then they brought out edition 4, which revamped the rules and got rid of a whole bunch of core strategies for how the game operated. And I don't even know what version they're up to now, but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, 40k is about the core stories now. It's not really about the tabletop, because the tabletop game it's gotten to the point where nobody can afford to use official models. Everybody buys bootlegs. Oh yeah, because the price is just so high. It's just gone massively out of control.
Games Workshop is very, very salty about this, by the way. You walk into a Warhammer shop, or a shop that sells Warhammer figurines, but particularly the Warhammer actual labelled shops, and you can just feel your wallet screaming.
Yeah, that's where I got my start. Like, I went to one of those things, and they taught me how to paint, and they taught me how to play.
Mm-hmm.
It was a real sort of the sort of idealized experience of how the store would get people into the game.
Yeah, now yes, they'll do that, but they'll charge you an arm and a leg while they're at it. Like, I went in there at one point.
You won't leave with any of your money.
Yeah. Like, last time I was down in Brisbane, I went and had a quick look in there just to see, okay, maybe I can get some paints and learn a little bit about model painting. And even just the paints are absurdly expensive.
Yeah, Citadel paints are ridiculously expensive.
Like, they're really high quality, yes, but...
Well, their main advantage is that they are one of the few ranges that do really high quality water-based paints.
They're also
That's the thing.
the exact shades you need if you want to do official.
Yeah, if you
colour
want
schemes.
official color schemes, then you might say, oh well, it would be better if you use the Citadel ones. But honestly, if you go with Humbrol or Tamiya, you're still going to be able to get close enough that it doesn't matter
Yeah.
using their official ranges. Because generally speaking, their ranges are bigger, so you can get more shades. But the issue, the thing which makes Citadel paints good is that they're water based rather than
Yes.
oil based, so you don't have to piss about with terps and stuff so much when you're cleaning your brushes. And your brushes almost never end up unsalvageable because they've been gunked for too long or something like that. So I used a mixture of Humbrol and Citadel paints, but I do prefer the Citadel paints to use. What I do not prefer is them to buy, because they're like 2 to 3 times more expensive than the equivalent Humbrol paints.
Oh yeah.
And in terms of sheer volume, oftentimes I feel like they just sell you too much paint. Like they actually decreased the volume of paint per bottle since I was playing pretty substantially without decreasing the price one iota. So that's less of an issue. But it used to be that you not only were you paying more per mil, but you were also paying for so much paint that it would probably go bad before you used it up. Because the other thing with the Citadel paints, I don't know if it's still the case, but the formulation they had back then was they also don't last as well as the oil-based ones do.
Okay.
Maybe they've improved the formulation now, but that was my experience, is that you would come back to a bottle after having not used it for a while, and it would be horrible in there, and you couldn't get consistency. But the oil ones, like I had oil paints that I used the same bottle for literally over a decade type of thing.
So yeah, these days, if people, I've started seeing a bit of a trend where people who want to get into Warhammer they'll start with either cardboard tokens, papercraft, or 3D printing for their miniatures.
Well, it's straight up bootlegs often.
Straight up bootlegs.
Because if you buy a bunch of Chinese or Russian or European bootlegs or whatever, it's just going to be infinitely cheaper.
Yeah,
because the price of the Citadel models is so high, and the thing is, it reminds me a little bit of the games piracy shtick, because ultimately it was a deliverables issue. If Citadel had not charged so much to begin with, it wouldn't have taken off like a shot to use bootlegs. There would always be people who are going to use bootlegs. Even when I started, before the prices shot through the ceiling,
yes,
they were still expensive, and there would still be people who bought bootlegs, but generally speaking, people were willing to pay for the official models because they weren't, staggeringly more expensive. They were like 1.5 to 2 times the price of bootleg ones. But when it got to the point quite quickly that they were 5 or 6 times the price, like it's just not reasonable anymore. It really isn't.
What's the base price of models in upside down dollars?
All right, let me have a look.
They had a weird price banding system, which meant that currencies weren't actually convertible. Like they set separate prices by country based on a tiering system, and that happened after I'd been playing a year or two, and that was where things started to go really bad on pricing.
All right, here we
go. Because they basically used it to insert an extra dollar here, an extra dollar there on top of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like nobody in their right mind is going to buy freaking D&D models from the official D&D sets, unless you're a diehard, classic.
The
D&D
only
fanatic.
people that I've ever seen use those are people who are actually sponsored by WotC.
Yeah, like you will occasionally find the dude who bought like the 3.5 starter set with the blue dragon in it because it came with a whole lot of stuff in it for $30 and was a steal. But that's like the only models I ever see. So you see that stupid blue dragon everywhere.
All right, here we go.
That's the only official one.
Starter sets for Warhammer 40k, if I'm buying them directly from Games Workshop, I'm not sure. These are Trump bucks. You're looking at $235 for Thousand Suns or Gene Stealer Cult, $165 for a different Gene Stealer Cult, Adeptus Mechanicus, Tenrid, so on like that. So you're anything from about $150 up.
So is this enough for a whole army to play with, at least, or is this not?
No, I'd say
They
no.
find lots of ways to nickel and dime you. Like even when I had started out, they would always sell you an army except for X, Y, and Z that you needed.
Yeah,
And they were
Bought an
always
army box.
jacked way up for those ones that left out.
The extra ones were always like $18 a model or something.
Yeah,
for just like a commander
right.
or something. But I can't. I'm trying to find something that I remember buying so that I can compare the prices. It's just that I don't have a very good sorting thing for our local store here. It's a mess. So I played Eldar for years. I didn't ever
Space elves.
stop. I didn't stop playing them for any other reason. Well, I mean, you can say space elves, and they're definitely space elves, but everybody is a little bit edgier in 40k. It's not exactly tree huggers anymore.
Compared to just how edgy fantasy can be, it's saying a little bit.
Oh my goodness, I've made this really, really awkward to search.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't play Dark Eldar, but I at least bought some of them at once upon a time.
You're walking scrotum.
How many are in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so a box of 10 Dark Eldar warriors is 56 New Zealand dollars.
Rough.
When I started, you could get 16 of them for, I think, $35 or $40.
Yeah.
Okay. So they've radically increased in price.
Oh, yeah.
Are these new sprues? Yeah, the
seems
sprues
like
the sprues are new, but there's also less customization in them by the looks.
Yeah.
Not
it
too
seems like
bad.
they've
It could be
decided
worse.
that, okay, people are taking these third-party options in order to get into the game. Let's counter that by making our miniatures even more expensive.
The other issue is that the quality control of the bootlegs is better than the quality control of the official Citadel miniatures.
Yeah. If these days...
there are bad bootleggers, but at a certain point in Citadel's history over the past 10 years or so, they started cutting corners on their QC, and so you can often end up with figures that have bubbles in them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're malformed in various ways.
I see.
Yeah. And honestly, yeah, your papercraft or your 3D printed models can be just as good. Well, the papercraft ones not, but the 3D printed ones can be just as good as official models.
Yeah, from some of the large scale, sort of like I want to use the word professional bootleggers, like the ones that actually put effort into being as close to the real thing as possible. Like they just do a better job of preparing the models than Games Workshop does, and Games Workshop is eternally salty about all of this. But the one thing that they have never actually done to try and fix the problem is, assume that maybe they made a mistake and start over with their pricing and their business strategy.
Provide a better product? No, I can't do that.
Can't do that.
It's 2020. That's 2020, man.
Yeah, and what's the same thing with their official D&D licenses? You've got Hero Forge sitting on the sideline there making customized figurines for people for a reasonable price.
Oh yeah, you can buy 20 customized figurines in D&D for the price you can buy one randomized pack. I'm not kidding.
Woof.
The reality with Warhammer 40k now is that the only reason people actually play it is due to their fondness for the setting, because as a game the rules are not very impressive. Like, it's not like even though there's a lot of accretions, you might want to call it, around say Magic the Gathering as a game is still largely competent. It's They occasionally they will do something which is just war-bangingly retarded, like bringing back Thoughtseize or whatever, or thinking Jataxian Probe won't break the game.
Or that what you call it is racist.
Yeah,
or that every card cover is racist.
So, I say there are lots of accretions associated with the game, and that's true. But the game itself, mechanically, is still largely competent. They don't have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Size ban list even. So on that count, you can still say there's some competency there. In Warhammer 40k, they have never been that good at that kind of thing.
No.
They just never have.
They've
As
never-
a game, it's not necessarily competent. The products that they sell are not necessarily good. The bootlegs are better. So the only thing that keeps people playing the game is either habit or love of the setting. Because there are tons of tabletop games that have better, cheaper models.
Yeah.
Oftentimes ones that are at least as aesthetically cool as the 40k stuff. So yeah, like War Machine got really popular a few years back.
Yep.
Lots of people got into that. And the models that you play War Machine with, like they weren't terribly expensive compared to Games Workshop. Like the sort of thing that Games Workshop would charge $150 for, War Machine would charge $70 for. That sort of thing.
Are they still making BattleTech models? Let's see. Yeah, they are. BattleTech
has its own raft of issues.
yeah. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. But again, similar thing there as well.
Yeah, they had a much worse SJW entryists problem, if I recall correctly.
Considering it's a setting that's all about giant robots and murdering a galaxy.
Well, I mean, I don't think that most SJWs care about what setting they invade. They're just trying to do as much damage as possible.
Oh yeah, there was that whole thing in the Warhammer community very recently, because if you're not the right sort of person, get out.
Yeah, that was really on the nose. How they thought that would test well with players, I don't know. But it was all part of their long running insane crusade against the YouTuber Arch Warhammer. Like it is really as pathetic as they have an axe to grind against this one individual guy with a popular YouTube channel because he's a centrist instead of a progressive.
Gasp!
Like it's that pathetic. That's the level of it. And it's been clarified that through various evidence that has come out, it is clarified that it is a lot of the stuff they did was actually driven by animus against him personally. Like he ticked off the wrong people, sort of thing. Or they decided that his fan base was composed of people from the National Socialist German Workers' Party, despite the fact that he's like Norwegian or something. But yeah, the whole thing was really unbelievably stupid, and Games Workshop got themselves in some legal argy-bargy with him because they issued formal DMCA strikes against him on YouTube for using the word Warhammer.
Oh, what?
Which they claimed was their trademark, and that they were obliged to defend it. They issued DMCAs against him personally. But that basically means that in order to do that, they would end up forfeiting their trademark because it can be proved that they didn't enforce it that way on several other people.
Mm-hmm.
And innumerable other people over the course of, the time in which stuff has been on YouTube about Warhammer. So I haven't been following that particular legal story. Maybe Nicky Rackets will do something on it if it moves anywhere.
Because it's just so bloody stupid.
But yeah, it was quite a pathetic situation and an embarrassing situation for GW because they put their entire IP at risk simply to slap at this guy who they've decided is a Nazi. And it doesn't seem to take much to get designated a Nazi these days.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
At this point, it's just an IRL Chivo that everybody gets automatically after a while.
Yeah, it's like one of those Chivos you get just for progressing the story. Like, you don't actually have to go out of your way to do anything. You'll just eventually naturally become one. But, yeah, it's... that's sort of where the official side of Warhammer has wound up. It's just this completely, corrupt and severely reduced shadow of its former self.
It's a shame.
And so most of what makes Warhammer good exists outside of what is officially Warhammer nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of the natural destiny of anything tabletop, I feel. Is that the best parts will always be outside the official parts.
Yeah,
but,
it's happened to D&D pretty much since the beginning, actually.
Well, D&D became, even before the SJWs got D&D, homebrew was always better. Everybody homebrewed the rules, whether they admitted it or not.
Yeah, they give you a
starting
point.
Was more or less
That's it.
It was more or less encouraged. So it was just supposed to be a mass market springboard for a particular way of having fun. It was after that they decided that, you know, it was going to be this big trademarked centralized thing.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, only had negative outcomes, really. Although, I mean, it depends on what you're going to call a negative outcome, because obviously there are lots of people who got into tabletop because of, you know, their constant monetization of re-releases of the rules. But it's like very Street Fighter, if you ask me. Like they keep out bringing in another version with a new suffix. Like that seems to suggest that there's nothing worth keeping, because it's very clear that they are not just evolving or anything like that. They are actually just revamping it in order to facilitate re-releases.
Pretty much.
They've just got to change all of the rules to justify a re-release. If it was truly evolutionary, you would expect to see a pattern more like Pathfinder, where things have been more or less stable for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can crack open a Pathfinder rulebook from like 2005 and still play and be mostly knowing what you're doing. If you cracked open in 2016, I think it was the last big update.
Well, they did
rulebook.
Pathfinder 2 fairly recently, which I think was the 2016 one, and it's still recognizably Pathfinder. They haven't changed all that much.
That is not the case with D&D.
D&D 5th edition looks nothing like D&D 4th edition, which looks nothing like D&D 3rd edition.
Well, D&D 4th edition, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, yeah, I didn't understand anything about D&D 4th edition. It was
Nobody
a total
did.
incomprehensible mess. But
I think the time frame between 4th edition and 5th edition was the shortest between any tabletop thing, period.
Oh,
because
easily.
so nobody liked it. It's like 3 was disliked, so they re-released it as 3.5 with amendments to make it playable. But 4th edition was completely unusable.
Third was broken. Like it just didn't operate. It was filled with so many exploitable holes that you could exploit even on accident, and bits and pieces that were missing or not addressed, and so on. But 4th was like, you know, World of D&D craft.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the impression that I got, is that they were trying to make WoW the tabletop game, or the tabletop game WoW, or something. But yeah, so most of these types of, you know, things that are typically sort of fandom things gone corporate, they seem to always end badly, and Games Workshop is one of the most grave examples of this. And it's sort of like text-to-speech has become sort of, for me, like Dragon Ball Z Abridged, in the sense that it has basically completely displaced the primary canon in my mind.
Yeah. But they still draw a lot from it, and they kind of started by just summarizing it.
Well, that's why I say that it's like Dragon Ball Z Abridged, because everything that happens in Dragon Ball Z Abridged in the broad strokes, it happened in Dragon Ball Z. That's where the material comes from. But the fine-grained detail, the
Not
rationale and reasoning may be a little bit different. But but as far as the way I remember things now, I am more likely to remember how something went in text-to-speech than remember how it went in the primary canon.
Yeah.
Much like Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Like, what was Guru's personality in Dragon Ball Z Original?
I don't think he really had one.
No, he didn't. But you remember the abridged one, don't you?
Everyone remembers the Abridged Guru.
No! I saw a bird. It was pretty. Kick its ass. Like, it's very, very memorable by comparison.
Yeah.
And that's the case with a lot of these things.
Incidentally, Team 4-Star did a Demon Slayer Abridged, or Demon Slayer in 5 minutes, actually, a couple of weeks back, which is... It leaves me a lot of questions about the series, but I have a feeling these are the same questions I'd get if I watched the actual series.
I liked the actual series a lot. I think
I did
as
too.
a sort of one of the slightly more dignified shonens, it holds up really well.
Yeah,
it's got a lot of heart to it. It's got really good action and animation. Like, it's a very solid implementation of the shonen formula in a lot of ways. There are times where it feels very Naruto, but Naruto given a sort of a bit more of a dark edge to it.
Yep.
And it looks, from what I understand, it already is like at an end goal in the story, in the manga, or whatever thing it's based on.
Yeah, it's clearly not one of those ones that was calibrated to continue for eternity.
So we may realistically see an end to it.
I heard that Eiichiro Oda did an interview recently where he said that his estimated time frame to the end of One Piece is about 4 years.
Well, he said that when he first started, it was because One Piece was going to be like a 5-year project, and then he just kept going.
And going.
But,
He just needs to live long enough to actually finish it.
He's
He
running
needs to
out of
not work
story
himself
arcs
to
at
death.
this point.
Yeah, have they moved any closer to finding the legendary One Piece?
Yes.
Is that a thing that's happening?
Yeah,
I haven't been following
they're
it.
kind of on the doorstep of it. If my impression of the new or the latest arc they just finished is.
So they'll 2 more decades and we'll have made some progress then.
But from what I understand, they're kind of finishing up everything there, and is really running out of places to actually extend it.
Yeah, I kind of lost track of I kind of lost my ability to even follow it at some point.
It's long.
Yeah, it's very long.
Very, very
and
long.
I think that I stopped following it roughly around the time that, spoilers for what's an ancient story arc now, around the time that Ace got executed.
Yeah, the major shift in the story.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I felt like it was reaching it reached that crescendo, and then it sort of just flapped loose for a while, which is why I sort of stopped watching and following it.
Mm-hmm.
Watch One Piece be the first anime to have 2 time skip arcs.
Fairy Tail's already done that.
Yeah, they do that kind of thing.
They did. Fairy Tail, though, gets very, very tropey.
Yeah, it's very disliked amongst shonen fans.
I don't mind it, but
I don't think it's as bad. I don't think it's as bad as some people say that it is, but it's definitely not. It's definitely not a premier example of the genre. It has some things about it that are quite likable, but a lot of other stuff is it's got a lot of plot holes. And the one thing that I'll say about it is that it doesn't have the same sort of rushed feeling at the end. The way, it's not a good ending. It's not a well put together ending, I don't think. But it doesn't feel like it was churned out overnight.
Looking at you, Bleach.
It feels like,
Bleach.
Oh well, this is not a great ending, but it was always the ending that the story was meant to have, more or less.
Yeah, like Power of Friendship wins. Lucy's a MacGuffin again.
Yeah, that's always going to happen.
Yeah.
I do sort of I mean, I don't have a feminist bone in my body, but I do sort of resent the sheer regularity with which the female characters get left behind in terms of the power stakes.
Especially
because
Lucy.
It's like there are just different ways that you can use female characters to make them powerful. You don't actually have to make them into muscle men.
Mm-hmm.
You can come up with something. You're supposed to be a creative. Do your job. Rather than just be lazy and let everything fall apart, just, try and give some parity with your characters. I know that that's tradition with shonen to have the main character end up head and shoulders ahead of everyone else, but I don't think it's a necessity. I really don't.
No, it's definitely not a necessity.
It's just, I think what happens to these poor writers is they just get stuck in the manga crank, and they don't have time to think everything through.
Yeah, I think that Bleach is also another sort of cardinal example of that, and that it's a combination of what you just said there, and the fact that Kubo has this tendency to just create new characters in order to resolve plot difficulties. But you see that he devotes substantial chunks of that, every shonen's Monster of the Week initial run. He devotes significant chunks of that purely to bringing all of the other characters who are going to be regulars up to speed, and then forgets them and turns them into MacGuffins. I think that the one who gets this the worst is Chad, obviously, in that series.
Shadow,
because
his big arms.
They make a huge deal out of the fact that his raw power should be head and shoulders above everyone else, and then they just have him job every fight, pretty much.
Blah.
He never actually gets to be powerful. He's only told of you are told that he is powerful. That's pretty much it. Everybody he actually beats in a scrap is always some, bit player.
I mean, it's always a cool looking fight from what I remember, but it's never somebody important.
Yeah, like he's got interesting motifs and that sort of thing, and he's got, he's one of those rare shonen good guys who actually has a coherent ideology behind him. Like he's got a reason for what he does. He's got things that he believes in, and while they tend to get subsumed by power of friendship, regardless, I mean, he was a well put together base for a character, and then they just never bothered to do anything with it at all.
Poor Orihime got stuck in just. They looked like they might start something about 2 or 3 times and gave up and turned her into a literal MacGuffin.
Well, that was the only fate left when they realized that they'd made her too powerful.
Yeah.
You could not have her really grasp a hold of her powers and use them in combat. Because number one, she didn't have the personality for it. She wasn't built for shonen. Her personality is MacGuffin through and through. And number two, she's also, more powerful than a god. If she was ever actually to leverage her power properly. So if you ever tried to use her in a dramatic fight, you would be having to accept that dramatic scenario with the full knowledge that she was merely, doing the one hand tied behind her back thing.
Yeah, just everything about that series. It just feels like Kubo got stuck in the manga grind. You can see it in his artwork too. His artwork in the early series looks really, really good, and it's really detailed. And then you see his artwork from the later series near the end, and he just doesn't even draw the backgrounds anymore.
Yeah, he just doesn't draw the backgrounds at all. Backgrounds with the other people. Caring. He's too cool for backgrounds, which is sad because aesthetically it was my favorite of the big three by a long mile. It's just that he couldn't keep it up.
Yeah, the contrast between early Kubo and Kubo that is just done with this crap is so drastic.
Yeah, you could see from the sort of the work that he did early on that he didn't want to be a manga artist. He clearly wanted to be a fashion designer. Because he would change the characters' outfits like every panel sort of thing. It was he gave way more outfits to shonen characters than any other shonen has ever given.
Didn't they get like some sponsorship deal with some clothes company? Change the outfit so much?
Could be. It sounds like the sort of thing that might happen. But yeah, normally a manga artist will settle on an outfit very early on or implement uniforms as part of the story in order to avoid having to come up with new outfit ideas all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Kubo didn't do that. I think actually in the very early volumes of Naruto, I think that the author actually talks in the notes at the back about trying to converge on something that's distinctive, but that he can reliably redraw looking the same each time. Whereas Kubo just, rather than suffer having to redraw it the same each time, he just changed the outfit entirely each time so nobody could ever ping him on consistency.
He's consistently inconsistent.
Yes. Though intentionally.
All right. We were on my week, actually, so I probably should finish that up.
I'm not actually sure how we ended up down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. The only other thing of note is I continued to play D&D, which ended up getting cut short because Discord decided it was going to do a Discord. Speaking
of D&D, your D&D game and the rabbit hole down which we proceeded, I did note that the Warhams also ended up in the poo room.
They have actually, in fact, ended up in the poo room, yes. The only thing of real note of, I think we may have actually lost the sorcerer for our D&D game. He ended up spending a boss fight locked in a cupboard.
Uh-huh.
Well, at least he wasn't going to die in there.
No, he wasn't. He decided he was going to wander off, and the boss activated and locked him out of the room. So he was kind of locked in this dead-end corridor. Then he decided he was going to try and attack the tank, who... Well, our tank picked up an artifact at some point which gives her these 2 robot snakes, which, should she be incapacitated, they go hell for leather at whatever incapacitated her. He just ran up to her using a whole person. And immediately dropped below 0 health when these snakes went after him.
I see.
So are they still playing with you? Going to make a new character? Or are they?
No, I think he's actually gone off on his own.
Yeah, that's the danger of killing characters like that. You just demoralize people.
Well, no, he actually wanted to kill the character anyway.
Oh, okay. So this wasn't a case of the DM killing a character and a player going, all right, screw this.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why or what happened. It's drama, so I'm not going to dig on it.
D&D group drama.
Actually, I think this is more BDO guild drama, I think, maybe.
Oh, I see.
So I think there just might be a little bit of drama in there, so leaving it alone. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, you
I
can't
don't need guilds anymore. And I stubbornly refuse any officer role that's offered me.
Too bad you're an officer in the PSO2 guild.
That doesn't count.
But isn't everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think everybody is an officer in the PSO2 guild.
It doesn't count.
I think you all have all the administrative privileges I could turn on to.
No, actually, I am an officer in my BDO guild, but it's basically we need someone at stupid o'clock in the morning to press buttons. So, nothing really new because, unfortunately, before we got too far, we killed the boss, but then Discord wigged out, and that was the end of the session. So, didn't even find out what treasure we got from it.
Fern, I have a great idea.
Oh no!
You're gonna tell them you know a guy who's absolutely insane, which is a true statement.
Yes.
And that he can totally come in and help the party out, and I'm gonna come and wreck your game.
We're well on our way to doing that on our own.
But think of somebody that knows how to exploit the rules. Actually, I don't know 5th edition, so I wouldn't be able to wreck it that hard now.
5e's been simplified to the point where it's very hard to really exploit too much.
Do you even have Vancian magic anymore?
Have which?
Vancian magic.
What's that?
It's the traditional D&D style of magic where you prepare spell slots and that sort of thing.
Yes and no. Like, I think wizards and sorcerers kind of use them.
Because if it was 3.5, I could totally make a level 2 wizard that can cast Meteor.
I mean, yeah.
And I could just play Megumin.
You could do that. Please don't do that.
That would be awesome.
I know a guy who did do that once, and he annoyed his entire group.
Being prone in 3.5 is not safe, Aristeal.
Yeah.
It's okay, we just need a Cosmo to carry me.
No. The ideal Cosmo would leave you there to suffer the consequences of your own actions.
No, he would go, and go kill the giant frogs.
Useless goddess. So yeah, that's been my week. It's just been a whole lot of nothing, honestly, in the end. So, Vol, what have you been up to?
Not a lot. It's been a rough week at work. It's always a rough week when somebody's training at something because a person who is training means a person who is not outputting a full person's work and who is actually decreasing the amount of work a supervisor can do. So somebody's got to pick up the slack. And that somebody invariably seems to turn out to be me. So yeah, it's been challenging, and I clocked a lot of overtime. And I wish I hadn't clocked a lot of overtime, but at least I'm on a wage rather than a salary, so I will get paid for it, for what that's worth. I'm not sure what that's worth. Not very much.
Not enough.
But yeah, that's been my scenario for the week. Really, is that I come home and I fall asleep. So I haven't had much time to play anything. Like, I quit playing one gacha game and it doesn't seem to have increased the amount of free time I have. And I feel sort of cheated by this. But, yeah, so as far as FGO is concerned, the Zero Axel event rerun is going to be happening next, which I'm sort of mildly fond of on account of it being one of the first events that I was actually, passably successful at. So yeah, I've done a little bit of ember farming to try and prepare the characters that get drop bonuses and that sort of thing during the course of that event. But
get your Angry Mango to Bond 10?
I have not got my Angry Mango to Bond 10, nor have I made any attempts to get my Angry Mango to Bond 10, because that just seems like a way to bring unnecessary suffering upon oneself during an event.
Yes.
just critically hampering your ability to farm.
That's why I had to do
Just don't
23
do it.
loops of the summer event, because I had the mango with me.
Good gravy.
But yeah, so I've done a bit of prepping for that, but that mainly involves leveling up characters I don't want to level up, like Caster Gee and Saber Gee. Neither of which I'm particularly pleased about dumping embers into, because they're both bad.
Why are you leveling
Caster Gee
Sabegi?
particularly, because he also gives a bonus.
But he's awful.
Yes, but he gives a bonus. And I don't remember how the levels are structured, so I may in fact need to use them on the front line, so he needs to at least be able to take a hit.
Ugh.
Yeah, so that has not been particularly interesting, because, you know, each time you kill a hand is pretty much like every other hand that you kill.
Yeah.
Not particularly thrilling. I haven't played very much PSO2 either. I've barely logged on. I have logged on, but I've barely logged on. But I just dang 80 then on Braver, so
Nice.
finally got that one there.
I just hit 75 on Summoner before the show, because I'm playing it even less.
Yeah, because Fern is apparently in work hell, much
Yeah.
like me. Except his is worse, because there's no... If he can't call in sick quite so
No.
easily.
It doesn't work.
But yeah, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get some rest and relaxation in this coming week, because I'm having my eyeball cut open, and it's a worthy price to pay as far as I'm concerned at this point.
Should we take the opportunity to explain what we're planning? Well, we will be planning while
Hang
you're
on.
during
Give me a
relax
sec to
time.
stick my fingers in my ears and go la 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 la.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the objective is to give Fern a complete plausible deniability for this, so that he does not get arrested by the thought police.
So, we're doing the political special again.
Yep, like we
worked
did
out
last
so well
time.
last time.
Well, I think our last one was actually very, very much more stable and analytical than I think this one is likely to be. This one is likely to be a bit more flailing and radical, simply because the entire world is a bit more flailing and radical than it was 4 years ago.
Like,
By a bit, you mean a ridiculous degree.
I may very well turn the webcam on and put the MAGA hat on.
Oh boy.
But doesn't that sort of thing get you banned from YouTube?
Yes.
Probably.
Yes, it does.
But
For a hat.
yeah, so we'll be doing a spin-off show, a special, which is we've got too much content currently, and we haven't even collected like 90% of it yet. So
We've got the highlights from 2 years, and these aren't even the 2 big years.
We've only put headlines in, and we've got like 3 pages of material. Like, we haven't even put any of the points we're going to talk about in.
Yeah,
But,
like we've got some topic motion and cutting to do, but it's going to be a big one.
Yeah, but so we'll basically be covering, you know, the ups and downs of the past 4 years of the United States politics. I don't really want to talk much about New Zealand politics, because it just makes me cringe. That's why we're in the situation where they want to chip people. But
most of it can be covered in the section aptly titled "The Coof."
Yeah. New Zealand politics has mostly been a chain of standard pattern Labour failures that anybody from a Commonwealth country with a Labour Party will recognise as, oh, this is definitely Labour behaviour.
No, it's business as
Because-
usual.
Yeah, Labour pretty much operates the same way in pretty much every Commonwealth country, which is like, see a problem, attempt to spend your way out of it, fail, attempt to spend your way out of the problem you just created, fail, etc.
Yes.
And now you have more problems than you started with.
Repeat ad nauseum.
Yeah, until you lose power, and then blame all of the debt that you ran up on the opposition party.
Yes.
Or Trump.
Well, yes, in fact, they have been doing that lately.
They have actually, yeah.
Which is rather pathetic. The Labour Party in a completely different country would blame their failings on the president in another country. That's some next level passing the buck right there.
Yeah, our
But,
Labour leader hasn't done that yet. Not explicitly.
Just
Oh, implicitly, yes.
you people in your countries caring so much about what the U.S. does. I do not. I mean,
It's
the
because
U.S.
our
is
economies are
important
tied so
because-
close together. It matters.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
y'all-
the thing is that they're often not talking about economic issues.
No, they're not. That's the
they're talking
problem.
about social issues. Y'all have riots in your countries because of mowacism when fentanyl Floyd overdoses on fentanyl.
Oh
Did I just say that out loud?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
You did.
It's a hate fact. You're not allowed to say that.
I mean, it's the truth. We have the coroner's report.
It's a hate fact. It's a hate fact.
Is that a thing now?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's been a thing since around Gamergate. I remember that happening around then.
And-
That hate facts became a thing. When you tell a truth that makes somebody uncomfortable because it's true, that's now classified as a hate fact, and it's a form of assault or something.
Or microaggression, which is the same as pulling out a gun.
It's
and shooting
physical
someone.
violence. It's violence.
Yeah.
Violence to say things that are true that make people uncomfortable.
So that's a preview of what we're going to be starting the baseline at with the political show. Just by the way,
it's probably a good thing that I'm going to be well and truly away from that.
yeah, we are not joking when we're giving Fern as much plausible deniability as possible.
Yeah, he wasn't involved. He's not going to get arrested when I do.
I offered him the chance to get in on it if he wanted to, with the warning that he might get arrested. And he said, that sounds dangerous. And I was like, it is.
Vol's more likely to get arrested, but yeah.
But yes, so we're starting with fentanyl Floyd as our baseline. So if hate facts are our baseline, it's sky's the limit.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Well, I mean,
it's just yeah.
Part of what's made the world of this past 4 years become increasingly erratic is the simple reality that the world is gradually becoming bifurcated into people who think feelings can overwhelm reality and people who think that reality will continue to be the same regardless of how you feel about it. So
yes,
reality
so
doesn't
this
care.
is the story you tell versus whatever's actually happening. And
you can-
that's been the same divide philosophically that has existed since the early modernist philosophers and since the Sartres and the Nietzsche's and all those people who felt that you could will things into existence, whether in a practical sense like Nietzsche or a less practical sense like Marx. But it's we're going to do this simply because we did it last time and we want to try and expel some of this material from our gizzards rather than letting it bleed over too much into the main show.
That's been happening a lot.
It's infected a whole lot of the stuff on the main show, but if we have something out there we can say, if you want to know about this aspect of it, go watch this other show we already talked about. It'll be a lot easier to keep a good chunk of it out. Instead of having to go, this is actually relevant because...
Yeah, it's not like the industry wants us to keep it out, though. In fact, they seem to be trying to jam as much of it in as possible. But
we'll still complain about the SJWs, though.
It'll probably be inevitable that it bleeds into the show, but this is going to give us an opportunity to talk, straight up politics, and not neither of us are politically well informed on the scale of people who are professionally politically well informed, but it seems like we're at least at a level above the people who tweet things about politics.
we are at least 2 steps above the normies. But yeah, so we're doing this, and if we post our political discussion, we get fired and arrested from our private messages. So probably 1 step down from that, but it's not going to be very censored either. I've already said at the top of this notes that it's probably going to be R-rated up the front, just because I don't know what we're going to say, but it's not going to be politically correct, whatever it is. So that's an honest warning, not me joking.
Well, ultimately, it doesn't really matter whether or not it's politically correct because it contains hate facts.
Yeah, so look forward to that. It'll
Or
probably
not, be, whichever.
If we don't manage to trim this very well, it's going to be at least 7 hours long.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did 5 straight hours just on DNC.
Dino.
Yeah, when you two get onto a rant, it's...
Well,
Yeah!
we are
Excuse me.
structuring this. We're not going to just flail around. Like we do have a rough outline drawn up and some rough key points in there. But it's going to take some prep to do because we're covering a lot of material to bring us up to date.
So much stuff happened in these last 4 years to go over.
Yeah,
So,
like I remember somebody talking about it was something that had happened, and they said 9 years ago in January this year, like because that's about the scale of it.
yeah,
At this point, like
we've
any given
compressed.
month this year contains about a year's worth of happenings from any other year.
It's been at least a decade and a half squished into 4 years. So yeah, look forward to that, or be terrified of that.
Dread it.
Listen
Yeah,
out.
so it is entirely possible that if you watch it, you might get arrested.
These are real warnings here, by the way, for some people.
No. Can't do that. Oh boy. Let's get this back on track and talk about some video, maybe.
So yeah, I just felt like that was a good point to insert the upcoming events that we're planning.
So yeah, I haven't done much this week video wise. I haven't even done this much week as far this week even watching anime because the season is garbage.
Again.
I started a rewatch of Goblin Slayer. I've made it a wee way through. It's still pretty stable, but ultimately I just ended up reliving all of the things that happened when it came out about everybody claiming it was the most evil thing ever made. But I'm sorry, shooting the baddies is that's a time-honored tradition.
No, the baddies.
Baddies are supposed to...
That's what they're for.
Yeah. Baddies are supposed to get killed. That's the whole point. And you need to do something to show that they're baddies, or you don't have the moral high ground required to kill them. So
that's racist against goblins, Volacel. Something way liberals view a particular race of people.
But the goblins are basically cockroaches. So yeah. It's a really well put together in terms of the tone that it's going for. I'm quite glad that they desensationalized it somewhat from the manga edition, which apparently it goes whole hog on just being as graphic as possible for its own sake. But I feel like the anime was put together relatively well, all told. As far as being a quick watch anyway, like it's a short one season show. I think that it wouldn't actually stand up too well being labored a great deal more than that, as far as I can see, because it basically just has this one trick, which is that the Goblin Slayer, he's good at slaying goblins because that's what he does. He's not much good at anything else. but yeah. The only reason I'm watching it is because I can't really motivate myself to watch most of the other crap that's on this season because it's crap. And there's not very much of it, to be blunt. So, yeah. I don't really have much else to talk about. I was going to get whatchamacallit, the second Death End Request game because I really enjoyed the first one. But from everything that I saw, the port was just a catastrophe. Like it's barely stable. So I ended up just piking on that one. I might pick it up when there's a Steam sale or something and it's been patched a bit. But apparently if you try and play it in its current state, there's a non-negligible chance that you're just going to get, crash to desktop after crash to desktop after crash to desktop as you play.
Oh, joy.
And from what I've heard, the writing is not much better. Like there was some pretty significant issues with the writing in Death End Request, but I liked the overall way it was put together. I enjoyed the framing devices and the format and that type of thing. So I was able to gloss over that and the fact that the ending was confused and rushed and didn't make a lot of sense. But this one, like generally speaking, the attitude towards the new one is it's like the first one, but just slightly less good at everything. So that doesn't really encourage me very much. I mean, people have said nice things about certain aspects of it, but generally speaking, it doesn't seem worth paying full price for it, especially in its current technical state. If there was nobody reporting technical issues with it, I probably would have just pulled the trigger and played it. But since it is having technical issues, I'll just leave it for now, I think.
I see.
All right.
We started late, so we're only at about an hour in.
Yeah.
So we don't need to quite go to a break yet.
How long's your week going to be?
Depends on how I'm feeling, basically. Well, we can get it started and see where it goes.
All right, go for it.
Was Vol done with his?
Yeah, I don't have much else to talk about.
Okay. Let's see, my week. Work was very generic this week. One job we thought was going to break that was going to be pretty big. Turned out that the opossum was just wrong about that.
Not unusual, really.
Yeah, so it not only was not going to break, it's not going to break for about 2.5 years.
That's a bit of a difference.
Some pretty extreme advanced scouting there.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's a hospital. And so what we have wound up with is so many of our jobs at work are with hospitals now, because so many hospitals got all these funds for these ridiculous expansions during Wu Flu that never got used and didn't need to be emergency rushed after they started emergency building them thinking they would need them, but then realized they didn't, so they all stopped. But they've already set the funds in motion to build those things, and they can't move it because it's already half built. Mm-hmm. So what you wind up with is with a lot of hospitals that have a lot of sections that are being built at a much slower pace because they really don't need them to be built, but they gotta kind of finish them sometime to make the cost sunk feel like it's worth it.
Money's already been spent.
Yeah, so we're waiting on those to all start breaking through. And some parts are, like when they install the elevators and crap, the people that are working on the hospital want to use the elevators. So we can sell the stuff that goes in the elevators and junk like that, but the actual full building stuff and pumps downstairs, we can't sell those. Those aren't going to be ready yet for a while yet.
Isn't this basically all like federal funded projects.jpg?
Yeah. It's just exacerbated because of the way Wu Flu was handled.
Poorly.
Because everybody thought, we're going to need to, build these things immediately because the Koof is going to kill everybody. Oh wait, the Koof didn't kill anybody. Whoops.
So much for the health system being overwhelmed.
Yeah, so this was all being built in preparation, and then Kemp was like, wait a minute. Nobody's dying from this thing. And so Kemp opened Georgia almost immediately. So we are stuck with a whole lot of hospital jobs, which is really good for us. It'll give us a nice kick in the butt when they all finally go through, but they've all gotten stalled out because the people just aren't moving on them very quickly because they don't need to anymore. So that is a lot of what's going on at work and managing how these have got stalled out. We also, the Koof continues to rear its ugly head, where the government is now trying to get out forms to file for requesting forgiveness for the Wu Flu loan funds. And this is going about as well as you would expect.
Requesting forgiveness?
So the Wu Flu loan that the U.S. government gave out, if you prove that you spent it all on healthcare, payroll, and a few other things like rent and utilities, I think, are exempt, you will be forgiven for that debt. You don't have to pay it back.
Huh. Okay.
So it's just a straight government grant. They'll wind up radically inflating the cost of everything in the economy. But we're not paying attention to that right now. The point is, we want to not have to pay that money back. So I've been trying to fill out the government paperwork for this. Emphasis on trying. Because it's government paperwork. Make it something
easy.
No, there is... Okay, go get this form is the only form they link to on their website. And then that form will say, okay, now use the information you got when you filled out this form that you've never heard of before to fill in this box. Okay, that box, repeat. You have to go through a chain of 30 forms until you can fill in the one box on the initial form, and then you repeat this for subsequent boxes. I'm up to 12 forms deep for one box.
Good grief.
It is that bad. Never, ever, ever, ever trust the government when they say they can make things simple and are going to give you stuff.
Oh yeah, they lie.
Well, they might give you stuff, but it's just they don't tell you about all the fishhooks in it.
Yeah, and their fishhooks get dumped on me, unfortunately, because I'm the one that has to do all the paperwork. So, oh man, it's just been a mess. I don't like dealing with the government. And so, when I haven't been dealing with the government, I've been getting home around 3 to 6 each day. Haven't been super long days this week. So I've had time to play PSO2. And Abo's been playing a lot of PSO2, so I've been playing a lot of PSO2 with him. And, it's more PSO2.
You keep linking me the random costumes that people are wearing around the place, and people are sick.
The random trauma?
Yeah.
I would classify it as trauma, not costumes.
Trauma is probably a better word for it.
It is weaponized fashion in a way.
That's another way of putting it.
So yeah, I send these two all the wackadoodle costumes I find, and just usually with a what next to it or something equally shocked. Even though I'm not shocked at all by anything at this point.
Just, why do you hate our eyeballs?
So, yeah, I've got my Hunter to 80, my Bouncer to 80, my Ranger to 75, and my Summoner to 60, and I still haven't summoned the dang thing. But I'm going to need Fern to walk me through that, because I need to get that as a subclass.
I will stick with my original advice on Summoner. Don't.
But I need it for a subclass for, like, 2 of my classes.
Yeah. What you can do, actually, is just get a class-agnostic weapon, and just equip that.
So, a Gunblade? Gunblade.
There's Gunblades, each weapon has versions that can be equipped by any class.
That's true, but it's usually a bad idea.
It's usually a bad idea. Summoner less so.
You're going to tell me to go into an urgent quest with a Gunblade.
Nobody will notice. Nobody can see what goes on in there.
But if you can... Like, Summoner's got the unique ability where all their damage increases are just global.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what weapon you can take. You can take a mag, ranged mag, and a ranged weapon, and you'll be okay. Like, you'll get to level 80.
You don't seem to be all that confident about what you're suggesting yourself.
The other option is you could stick your head into the bucket of crabs that is the pet system.
I mean, that is the option I'm going to have to take at the end of the day, I think, if I want to do bonus quests and stuff to reasonably level this thing up in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice.
If you want to do the long grind, you can just grab another weapon, slap on a mag, and away you go.
Yeah, no, not going to do that. I want this thing done and over with. I don't want to be meandering through it forever, because I do need the stats for stuff like Ranger.
Yeah. The problem is if you go down the pet path, you will be meandering through it forever.
I mean, there'll be a day of reading and screwing it up once, but...
I could get you set up with a wander, and that'll cover you for most situations, I guess.
No, just defer it until you can pull something fancy out of the collection folder.
That's actually a good idea too.
So yeah,
I did say go for wander or Jinga.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just have to read it up on my own then. But
is there a very long document I can give you?
I saw the size of one of the documents.
I always have a very long document I can give you.
Yeah, and that one's compressed.
Yeah, that's why I told myself I will wait and ask Fern, but Fern seems anything but willing to help me with it.
As much information, well, partly because I'm rather rubbish at teaching these things, and it's something that's going to take a significant time investment to walk you through.
I'm about to say, it sounds like more Fern just doesn't want to sit through a seminar.
Yeah, I do not want to give a seminar, more particularly.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just have to figure it out myself the way I do everything, which is screw it up once really bad by sticking my face in it until I understand it.
Yeah, I'll give you the Cliff's Notes version at some point.
Say what?
See, that's not true. Sometimes you just ask Abo.
Oh yeah, but he doesn't play Summoner. He plays Dress Up.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Abo's class right now is Dress Up.
Yeah, but he might want a pet to go with the dress up.
Got to get your pink sparkle dog.
He wants the Rappy Pet.
Rappy Pet has such a ridiculously low drop rate, and it can only be farmed 1 day a month.
2 days if you're premium.
2 days if you're premium.
I got the Ark's Rappy suit.
Yeah.
That's the other incredibly rare drop you get once or twice a month.
Yeah. The drop rate of the Rappy Pet is absurd.
Dear Marlu, please stop taking damage from the boss.
Marley, stop being
She'll
bad.
be fine.
I need to get an S rank, so I need her not to die. But yeah, other than that, what else did I do in PSO2? It was a whole lot of urgent quests. The new urgent quest came out, Lunar Matriarch, and do not do this quest on low levels at all.
Well, do you get just laminated or?
You will fail. Like, you will fail the quest outright if you try it at low levels.
Oh joy!
Because, well, it might be a little better now that people have had time to screw it up a few times and learn how to do it, but that was not the case when we first started with it. Because the way it initially started was the start of the fight is a Ride-Droid, and you're in a Ride-Droid the whole time. The Ride-Droid will auto-fire if at anything in front of it, but you have to be within a certain range, and you have to chase the Lunar Matriarch in the Ride-Droid.
Those control so badly, though.
So what you need to do is you need to turn the Ride-Droid controls on manual so you never stop.
Yes.
And then you have to dodge crap as you're driving through, because if you get too far away from the Lunar Matriarch, you die instantly.
Oh, joy.
And are dead for like a full 6 seconds. And the problem is, this whole first phase is a DPS race.
So 6 seconds of dead is a long time.
I was going to say I see, but the reality is this sounds so unbelievably confusing that I don't think I see it all.
It's really it's fun if you get a group that knows how to do it and you can actually beat the time. But the problem is, on low levels, nobody knows how to use those stupid ride droids because Tokyo's like minimum level 70, or Las Vegas is like minimum level 70.
I can't imagine the ride droid ever being fun. I can't envision that.
It takes some getting used to, but it's really not that bad. The problem is when you and one other guy are the only people that can stay in range of the Lunar Matriarch, and everybody else is nowhere near you. And they're dying constantly behind you because they keep hitting things and falling too far behind. You have 6 minutes to pass this part of the fight, and then you fight her like a normal boss. But what would be the trash mob portion of the fight is just Ride Droid.
I don't like ride droids. Speaking of ride droids, though, what exactly is the quote ride droid quest unquote?
So we had to do those for a tier mission, I think, and we finally figured out what the heck they are. They are.
I was looking at the tiers, like, because I'm way short of what I need, and I've got like 1 day to finish the tier missions, but I didn't have any idea what their quest was at all.
So you go into them, and they'll fill up like an urgent quest does, so up to 12 people. And you go in there, and you try to get as high of a score as you can. And the way you do this is you wind up usually in Vegas, and there's a ride droid, obviously. It's a ride droid quest. And you use the ride droid to zip around the map during to get to the points where the mobs will spawn. And events will spawn like it's Tokyo or something, but with bosses and mini-bosses way more frequently. And you pick up emblems as you drive your ride droid around that increase your score multiplier up to a ginormous amount. And you have to learn when to get on the ride droid and go collect emblems. And it also matters when you do the ride droid quests. If you do them at nighttime, the medals are clustered closer together, but do not respawn as quickly during the bonus sections. And if you do it during the daytime, they're spread further out, but they respawn much more quickly during the bonus phases.
Huh.
So when you do them actually matters. And I think
there's time to worry about that. I need to clear these things today, and I've got so many to do.
I think you got 2 days left on the tier mission, so you got two attempts at it.
Well, I mean, are you going to be around tomorrow? Because I can't do all the crap by myself.
I'll be tomorrow Sunday, so probably. But the ride droid quests are they're not as fun as the time attack quests. I think the time attack quests so far are my favorite quests to do when I just want to do a quest. Like,
I'm sort of confused as to why they have compartmentalized that type of play off, because it seems like a just more interesting way of doing a lot of the content.
Yeah.
You almost never get asked to do them for any reason.
Yeah, it is totally the most fun type of quest out there, but nothing in the game asks you to do them. So whenever me and Ava just want to do something, and that thing is anything, we'll usually do time attack quests. Or, go to the casino. we have spent an ungodly amount of time in the casino.
Yeah.
So,
Stupid
I'm
shit
actually
rat.
yeah. You weren't there during the blackjack event.
Oh, boy.
So there was a casino event this past week, and Fern was there for like an hour. I think you were there during the roulette portion.
I was there for the roulette portion, yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we got to sit at full tables everywhere in blackjack and have fun with people and have everybody post their splash art of killing that stupid blackjack cat.
Shitty little jerk.
The one I stole was one that had somebody grabbing him by the throat and him throwing his hands up in the air and going, "No refunds."
Lunar Matriarch is up. So
yeah, if Fern switches games, we could show them Lunar Matriarch during the news segments. But it's a fight. At high levels, will probably be fine. It's only really bad at low levels.
Yeah, probably not a good idea to do that.
Like, what level should I go into then?
As high as you can, but you can't do the highest version because you don't have a 75 subclass.
Yeah, I do. What are you talking about?
You have a 80 main and a 75 sub?
Obviously.
Okay.
What do you think I am?
Oh, I thought I didn't know you had something at 75. So yeah, we can do it on the hardest difficulty.
Okay, so the thing is that you said you can do it on the hardest difficulty, but when you say that, I don't know whether that means you can do that on the hardest difficulty, meaning you can go into it at the hardest difficulty.
I don't know.
Difficulty saying that, oh, well, you can actually survive at the hardest difficulty.
I have no idea. I've never done the hardest difficulty before because Ava doesn't have a class at 75 yet for a subclass.
Oh, that's promising.
Because usually what happens if you go into one of these things, like I went into Chicken Man pretty early on, and nobody knew what to do, and it was just a clown fiesta from start to finish.
Oh, nobody knew to blind the boss?
Nobody knew how to do anything. Like, everybody was just shooting whatever. So we just squeaked in under the time limit. Several people had to go and buy more atomizers because of the sheer number of deaths. It was a disaster.
Abo's first experience with Chicken Man, which went very much the same. I think me and Fern were the only one breaking the upper arm or the arm armor. Period.
Yeah.
I was breaking the head armor just because nobody was touching the arm, so it was a waste of time. And I was hoping there was somewhere else on him that would take damage, and he seemed to be taking bigger numbers on his head.
Yeah, you can hit the head if you can reach it. The bounce is about the only one that can.
Falls in B69.
Oh dear! Get out of there! Get out!
I was trying to invite him and went to his block to B1, and then he went to B69.
Well, it wasn't on purpose, I assure you. It was automatic.
Yeah, that's your classic wretched hive right there.
Okay.
Well, there's not too many people around right now. Although many of the ones who are underdressed.
Naturally.
So you'll understand how the ride droid works as soon as the mission starts. I think it goes automatically anyway at the start. You don't need to flip it to manual, but you'll understand what I was talking about earlier. So yeah, I've actually had a lot of fun in PSO2 because mostly I can play dress up.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had in the game.
I can play dress up way easier, and it's got the best lobby play of any MMO. Where the community's actively involved in seeing how ridiculous they can make their outfits.
Yeah, but sometimes you get trauma instead.
I mean, then I get to share that with y'all, though, and you can share the trauma.
I did see one last week, which...
Oh, we got this guy! Look at the guy we got in here! We got Fishman! We got omnipotent fish. We got the omnipotent fish god down here.
I'm still watching the RP a bit. But this is a very strange creature.
This all exists. You might have to slap it up in a live chat.
I will... Here we go. I'll drop it in live show chat as a screenshot. But the other thing I did this week was I watched the PSO2. Well, I had it on the other monitor. Order of PSO2ing. So I posted a picture of what we have going on here in live show chat.
Why?
No. It just launched me straight away. I didn't get to read any of the instructions at all. Your thing will auto-fire if something's in range. Use 1 to fire missiles. They don't usually work. Use 2 to boost and catch up if you fall behind. And when you get close, press triangle to do a spinning attack.
Not a very good picture.
I don't know what triangle is.
It's okay. People know what they're doing. We're fine. The ride droid part's easy if people know. It's only at low levels where nobody's used a ride droid before that you have problems. We've already broken one of the spheres. If you die, don't worry. It happens.
I got shot down by something. I don't know what by.
So yeah. What you call it? I watched the PSO2 story. In air quotes.
Oh boy.
Such as it is.
So Ghetto Holt is the worst character I think ever in anything.
His whole arc is just appalling.
I as soon as I saw it, all I could hear whenever the English dubcast said his name was Ghetto Holt. So I did an image edit and stuck it in the video game thread, I think. And it seemed much more appropriate.
I don't know. When it tells me to use overboost, I don't know what it's referring to.
That's number 2.
Yeah, he seems like he's just an asshole for the sake of being an asshole.
Yeah, the whole arc of story 1, the main story is hot garbage. It's just Ghetto Holt going, oh ha ha, you puny, me big and strong man, you weak. Rawr, Get stronger and fight me. Oh no, I'm being eaten by the dark fowls after I stab my girlfriend.
Yeah, the anime is a little better, but not much.
I think the anime is too nice to him. They treat him as redeemable too much. Because I mean, reality is that the story they're trying to tell is that he basically lost his marbles when Malfoncina died, and because he was completely unwilling to accept her death, he went off the deep end. But
yeah, they don't communicate any of that in the game. He's just a raging douchebag.
Yeah.
He's like he's a certifiable nutcase in the anime. Like he's deluded himself into thinking that he's still working with Malfoncina, except that he's done a really poor job of it. But so it shows through in his general abuse of her.
So yeah, unfortunately, the game presentation is probably even worse than the anime. It is really bad. Like, really, really bad. Oh, goodness, I just spawned and ran right into a gate.
Well, hello,
is there a way to lose altitude quickly? Because I cannot work out what it is.
Get off.
No. You gotta position yourself accordingly and just know this little loop that she flies in.
Ugh. I keep dying over and over again, usually because I'll spawn in and I'll be trying to lose altitude, and the cost of doing so is that I fall behind and die immediately.
But yeah, that sounds like this fight. This fight is just a colossal pain in the butt for Phase 1. Phase 2 is actually really cool. I like Phase 2 a lot, but you have to sit through this first.
Oh my goodness, this is the worst.
I think we should have her on the next down, though. So yeah, we're getting there. But what was I saying about PSO2 story? All right, so PSO2, awful story for Phase 1, but there is a nugget of good story buried in there. There's one story that is actually really good in the game, at least, for PSO2, and that's Quana's story. So Quana's story is about her and her test partner that was in the lab with her, the Dragonoid.
Her dragon boyfriend.
Yeah, her dragon boyfriend. And their story is really cute and really has a touching and sad ending and is really well put together all around. But it's buried in the middle of Ghetto Holt.
Yeah.
Well, it's got rather strange implications for the story as a whole as well, since it results in the de novo creation of the entire of an entire subspecies of human.
Yeah.
Which is very strange. What am I supposed to even be shooting at?
Attack the balls in the very middle of the hand or the back of the hand if you want lesser weak point damage. It's not as good as the ball in the middle.
I can barely tell where the hand is.
Yeah, you gotta only hit the hands in the arena, not the hands.
But there are fingers in the way.
Do they move?
And then attack her core. We have a stupidly high DPS group. We should be fine. But yeah, so I actually really enjoyed her story a lot and thought it was worth going through to see her story. But you just gotta suffer through Ghetto Holt. It's just really bad.
Yeah. I've watched maybe the first half of the actual anime, and it's like, hey, here's this new character, and they're dead. And that's basically the anime.
Yeah. So, yeah, episode 1's pretty bad. I don't know if there's a way to redeem it. I'm not even sure you really need it to see the other episodes. You can probably get away with skipping it. And honestly, just skipping cutscenes and playing through to episode 2, which is much better, but still figuring out what it wants to be. Mm-hmm. But it ain't much harder. It ain't very hard to be much better than Ghetto Holt.
Get a hold.
So, yeah.
What was that?
Oh, he just sworded you?
Well, I don't know what he did. There was a pop and I died.
Oh, he went way up in the air and threw his sword on the ground. He's doing it again over there. That thing.
Oh, I see.
Because no fun for you, I guess.
I still haven't... I didn't see a sword at any point, though. I'm taking your word on it that one existed.
But yeah. Episode 2 story is way cleaner. But what's his nuts? Starts with an L. I'm brain farting on the Chicken Man's name.
Chicken Man.
Luther.
Chicken Man.
But yeah, Luther is a better insane bad guy, but he still falls into the trope of just actually nuts bad guy. But they managed to keep at least the story coherent this time.
That's something.
So
well, he's not just nuts. He actually has a goal in mind. Get him Holt just wants to fight things.
Yeah, he is a coherent character. I still think they did something wrong with it. Okay, look for the open door. Look for the open door and run out the door.
Hello, Tangent.
But yeah, I forgot about that. That's an instant kill if you don't get out. And we get introduced to Risa, who is Best Girl in episode 2.
Who is best axe crazy gun nut robot.
Yeah, she is completely past yandere and full into batshit nuts.
Yeah, she is just completely bonkers. You see her briefly in chapter 1.
Yeah, but she starts her story arc there, and I think it finishes in episode 5, I think, is when it's supposed to finish. But episode 2 is way more competent. And according to Abo, episode 3 is really good, and episode 4 is basically a slice of life anime.
That was going to happen sooner or later.
And he made me watch the very first episode of episode 4 out of context, or the first main mission, because, well, you need it for the bingo card. And 2, he was so flabbergasted by how meta it went, even he wasn't sure what to think of it.
Fun.
So, and he's right. It is more meta than Danganronpa V3's ending.
That ending. It was awful. Well, it wasn't awful. It was just, yeah, pretty bad.
The more I think about V3, the more I like it for its ending. Just for being something different, if nothing else.
It was well done. It was just, yeah, a little bit ass-pully, I guess.
But, yeah. So, yeah, I'm actually following the PSO2 story now, much to, I'm not sure my dismay, but it wasn't by choice. So I'll be able to comment on it as we go on. Oh, we're going to get rained on. Ooh. So, yeah.
Messed up.
Yep, so I think we're at a point where we can take a break now, because I don't really have anything else. I just play PSO2 in my free time. Went to work, came home, played PSO2, go to bed.
Fair enough. All right, then in that case, we should indeed flip over to take a break.
Yep, we'll be right back after some music. And we're back.
Yes,
and we're
indeed.
still fighting.
Horrible things are happening. Oh. So, I just started the show and, well, that happened.
What happened?
I got horribly murdered in, Factorio.
Oh, okay.
So that happened. Oh dear.
Unfortunately, listeners could not see the most epic pimp hand in the world just completely OHKO Vol.
I feel like you're enjoying that a little bit much.
It was hilarious from my angle to see you as the only person that just got mauled by the back end of her hand.
I just saw a hand getting bigger and bigger as it approached me, and then it was over.
No, my factory.
The fish. So yeah,
no.
the news is we have an email, and
We do
Fern's
have
the
an
only
email.
one of us that might be in a position to get to it because me and Vol are coming out of an urgent quest.
I don't know. I just got my basic resourcing going, and everything's gotten eaten by bugs. So that's been fun.
Is that a game console with an Easter Island head embedded in it and a fish on top?
Yes.
Because why not? I guess.
That is the sort of game this is, I suppose.
Yes.
He was the dude I was saying I couldn't see anything past while I was attacking.
I did see one last week who, it was just the marlin or swordfish, whatever it is, model, but they had managed to position it just perfectly such that the character and all its animations were inside it. So the only thing that you could see was just a fish flopping next to the enemy.
Yeah, if you get one of the miniature Rappy suits and then equip the Marlin accessory, and on a big character, if you maximize its size, you can have the Marlin completely subsume the character.
Yeah. You can do some very, very silly things like that with the miniature Rappy suit.
You do the female head crab emote, and the fish just flops all over the place.
All right, so let me just flick back over to this email. Here we go. Yeah, sorry, Sarah. So I'm reading your email while being bad at Factorio. I mean, this seems somehow appropriate. And he says, "Dear No Excuses. So it has come to this. After 450 hours, I have hit level 80 in Final Fantasy XIV and finished the primary storyline of Shadowbringers. Highlights include building the largest ladder in video game history, Thancred. Thancred, that's supposed to be Thancred. Being saddled by not only the insecure little sister Lolly, but also a goth Lolly who makes him carry her luggage. What? And flashbacks to Bioshock 1. What do they do to Thancred? I haven't played Shadowbringers yet. Poor Thancred. That, and also a lot of bleak. Oh boy, Shadowbringers starts out bleak. I am also firmly in the belief that Final Fantasy XIV could be used for enhanced interrogation by making people play at low levels. The rotations below level 70 are mind-numbingly boring. On the other hand, they expanded the trial version. No time limit and contains everything in A Realm Reborn and Heavenswood. So they have that going for them, which is nice. That night, I actually got around to watching the intro video for Shadowbringers, and now I'm starting to understand why mentioning Final Fantasy XIV at Blizzard, is verboten. As for the military political thing you missed, it's a slow process that we call demoralization or active measures. Never before I would have guessed that a Call of Duty trailer with no gameplay. Well, I'm terrible at butchering this because I'm also keeping one eye on Factorio, which is I've got bugs again.
Yeah, the Yuri trailer came out for COD. You always saw that.
No, a Call of Duty trailer will uncover such rich veins of salt. I'll let you take it from here. And that's from Service. So, there's just recently been a big patch for Final Fantasy XIV, which overhauled the early game level experience. It's kind of cut out a lot of the fluff from A Realm Reborn.
And while I'm sure that late game raid story is really good, it's just too much to chew through to get to play with your friends.
Yeah,
especially the post-base game stuff. Like
the thing that people need to understand about Final Fantasy 14 is that it is still a Final Fantasy. You still have to trawl through a massive marathon story. There's no way around that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just...
But that's the whole point. That's the reason you play it, is because you want to see the story.
Yep.
So yeah, it just makes it a very hard sell to, especially people like me that are coming in late. They're like, "Oh, you need to come play with us. You need to come play with us." Yeah, but when I start, it's going to be months.
The thing is, it doesn't work like that, and you know full well it doesn't work like that, because you can have jobs at any old levels, and that you just happened to be stuck in the armpit of a particularly unpleasant part of the post game for whatchamacallit, Realm Reborn.
It's well, I guess I was going somewhere with this and I lost my brain cells.
Because it's not a matter of oh well it'll be months before I can play with my friends. It's not like that at all, because like it's not you regretting that I can't play with you, it's me regretting that you won't play with me. And I already had characters at max level for the content that was current the last time I was nagging you to play with me.
It's just a really sticky armpit, man.
It is the bad part. It is the worst part of the entire experience, is that thing where you just have to traipse from primal to primal, doing a dozen sort of talk to this person, do this fetch quest things in between. Like it was basically just, the long-term drawing out of post-game content. You got to keep in mind that was like, the 13 months of Mists of Pandaria where there wasn't much to do type of part of the game.
They were padding.
Like once you get to the end of that particular stretch of primal after primal, then the story picks back up again as the intro begins for Heavensward. And then you do a bunch of the Heavensward stuff. You do the whatchamacallit, you do Snowcloak and the Keeper of the Lake and all those things. And like Keeper of the Lake was a really good example of strong small group end game content. Like it's a dungeon added late that is genuinely challenging, sort of in the way Magister's Terrace was.
Mm-hmm.
So they do pick up again as they start to sort of ramp up. It's just that you are stuck in this deeply awkward part of the continuity where all you do is run from person to person talking to them until you do another primal fight, which you then queue for half an hour. Yeah. Like you are projecting your current experience on a game which is, roughly 5,000 times bigger than the part of the game you're stuck in.
It's still a really stinky armpit, man.
It is the stickiest of armpits.
But what I'm saying is that your excuse for not playing is not the truth. Like, your excuse for not playing is the part of the game that you're stuck in is shit and you can't be bothered getting through it. It's not that, it's hard to play with other people. That is not the reason at all.
I think... Well, here, the thing is, it is just such a... I've sat through that particular grind for probably about 15 hours at this point of the post-game primal hopping.
That's because 50% of that time is you waiting for your queue to pop.
And it's the problem. That's a day's worth of time, man.
Yeah, but you only have to do it once. That isn't the whole of the game.
But I think you can skip it now.
There are parts that you can skip. I don't know what they have cut out in the particular, and I'm certainly not going to roll a new character just to find out. But hopefully that's amongst the stuff that's been pruned. Yeah. Like at least a bunch of the talky stuff. But the ideal situation is that you just, you just do the cutscenes. But, you probably still have to do fights. I mean, there's things like Chrysalis and that frankly you deserve to have to go through because it's what makes you into a man. having to pug the Chrysalis.
That's one way to put it.
I can stomach, watch a movie, fight a boss. That would be okay. Watch a movie, go to this random place in the middle of nowhere, find 3 dudes, and sit through the little in-game event, and then go wait 20 hours in a queue to kill a boss.
What was the last one you... What was the last one?
I honestly don't remember. I think it was it was after that one because I got called autistic on that one. I think it was the one after that one.
No, you got called autistic on Ramu.
Okay.
You didn't get called autistic on Leviathan because Leviathan is easy. It's, unless you actually physically fall off the boat somehow, You aren't going to screw up Leviathan. It's fine. But we did Leviathan. I did Leviathan with you. I did Ramo with you. I'm trying to think of what could possibly be left, because I think you might have almost reached the end of it, if not actually reached the
I
end of it.
think I'm on my way to
Pokemon?
Shiva.
Well,
I think I'm-
Shiva's deep in the story. Like that, Shiva is part of the prologue to Heavensward.
Yeah, Shiva's a
So-
big deal. You can't skip her.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to move towards her storyline. When I looked at the progress chain route, that sounds like I was almost getting towards her.
Is Shiva before or after Chrysalis? Because I don't think he's done Chrysalis.
I haven't done Chrysalis
I-
yet.
Honestly, can't remember.
I'm remembering a chart of quests I had left.
Chrysalis is like, it makes you want to kill yourself, because Chrysalis is like the ideal opportunity for every person playing the game to show just how autistic they are. Because it is the fight that gives the most opportunities to be autistic amongst all of the mandatory fights in the game, in my opinion.
Like,
The
How
amount of
much-
tism on display just blows everything previous out of the water.
that's interesting.
It might be better. It might be better now than back when I did it, when it was like semi-current content. Like I came to the party late, but it was still at a time where most people had not done it. Because under ideal circumstances, you will enter the Chrysalis once and never, ever, ever go there again.
If you
Because
see it pop up in the
you-
queue, you will leave.
Yeah, like people. That's one of the reasons it's so hard, is that it's such an ordeal that people just want to leave.
Yeah,
But
they just don't.
yeah,
want
I
to do it.
just can't remember whether Amphitheater comes before or after Chrysalis, because Chrysalis is like the grand finale of the A Realm Reborn story, whereas Shiva is sort of a prologue to the Heavensward story, but I can't remember which way round it is.
Yeah.
But it's just I really do feel that you're missing out, and I know you've got a lot of stuff on your plate and a lot of dressing up to do, but I deeply regret having let Final Fantasy 14 fall by the wayside, but I can't bring myself to play it alone, because
It's,
I hate pugging by myself that much.
It is.
To go into a complex fight and not know anybody there, have no one to talk to, is just too hard for me.
No one to swear at the incompetence of the healer.
but I'm going to be called autistic again if I play it.
Well, that happens in every MMO. I can't stomach playing it by myself. It's not my thing. It's why I don't sit there and play games like Fall Guys and that. Like for me to play with a game, even a game that is really fun with a bunch of strangers and with nobody that I know, it's just I can't do it.
Fall Guys isn't even very fun with a small group of people. You need a massive group to play it, because what will happen is every time you lose in Fall Guys, if your partner hasn't lost yet, you have to sit.
Oh,
and
you got to
watch.
wait for them.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Oh no. Oh
So
no.
what will inevitably happen is me or Abo would get a game that one of us is really bad at early on, and one person will be playing spectator the whole time.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not even a
Oh,
matter of skill. It could just be that the physics engine decides it's going to punch you off the cliff for no reason.
But that's such an easily solved problem. Why would you? So the simple way to solve that is that you basically you pull a losers bracket. The people that drop out can opt to go into the loser queue, and then they can basically be drafted into the same game as ghosts. They are playing in the losers bracket, but they can still play.
Yeah, it's just
Like there are that's just like an off the top of my head solution, and of course you're going to have to workshop it to make it work. But it seems to me that it's not necessary to do something like that to make somebody sit and watch, because nobody likes that.
yeah, because what would happen is we hope we get memory match or something, so the other person can contribute by trying to screw up the other.
Oh, memory match. It's the absolute worst game, because everything else is all, platforming, running around and silliness, and memory match is just... Ugh.
Memory match is hilarious when you intentionally run to the wrong block and stay on the edge of it, and then jump off at the last second to watch everybody fall off the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many people that just run to the biggest cluster, is it?
Yeah.
Yep. Because nobody pays attention, they just run to the biggest cluster, so you intentionally go to the wrong one and then jump off at the last second.
My entire personal experience with Fall Guys comes from watching VTubers play it, so which is always hilarious. But
In a really cringy kind of way, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, the VTubers are meant to be entertaining. If you're not entertained by them, you don't watch them.
I'm going to infect you, Fern.
No.
I only watch my favorites. I don't watch everything that comes across the wire like Aristeel does.
I've trying to find some ones more than just Coco and Fubuki, so I've been branching out a little bit. And I think I found Fern's patron saint one because it's from she's studied in Australia.
Isn't it racist to assume that every Australian will have an affinity for every other Australian? Because as far as I have observed, most Australians think all other Australians are cunts.
But isn't that like a bonding exercise in Australia?
That's how we say hello, yes.
Yes. So, there you go. You need to follow Aki.
Yeah, I'm not. Probably won't watch any VTubers.
But she's the Cloud Cuckoo Lander one.
Unless, of course, there ends up being some sort of, Warhammer Cloud VTuber. That I could probably watch.
You might be able to get like Tetris.
You like your VTubers grimdark, do you?
I like them just sitting around all day screaming heresy.
Coco might be able to help you with that.
I mean, there's a lot of heresy on the internet. Like a lot.
But, yeah.
Where were we? So, yeah, thank you for the email, Serathus. One day we will get back to Final Fantasy 14. Like, there is a Rathalos mount there sitting, waiting for me.
I have never stopped trying to get them to go back, but they won't do it.
It really, the other big thing with Final Fantasy 14 is we all play at different times, and we're all working now. So we can't adjust our schedules to play with each other as easy. Because
being an adult sucks balls.
Like, I sleep the least out of all of us probably, and I still can't squig it in such a way that I'm awake at the times Fall and Fern are.
Yeah.
Well, I still try and get my solid.
Yeah. Part of the reason I'm actually getting good mileage out of BDO at the moment is because there's a lot of times you can just set something going and then walk away.
Is that a game or
It's a game which has a lot of heavy Facebook elements associated with it.
Yeah.
Because you basically have to manage a merchant empire as well as play an MMO.
Yes. Especially now with the whole bartering system. It's now, you point your boat in a direction, set the auto path, walk away for half an hour, and hope it hasn't stuck on a rock.
But yeah.
It hasn't stuck on a rock, don't worry.
Oh, it's always stuck on a rock. Or there's some random PvP hanging around and just blows up for no reason.
Yeah. It sucks because we have to get up at 8 o'clock every morning now. There's no two ways about it. At the end of the day, we can shear off as much sleep as we want, but we gotta be gone at 8 o'clock to go to work.
I think I speak for Fern when I say I wish I could get up at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. The days I don't have to get up at 8 o'clock or at stupid o'clock in the morning are the days I will not get out of bed until I absolutely have to.
Unless a catastrophe's happening, you're not seeing me walk in that office door before 9 o'clock. I will walk in right at 9 every single day. 10 o'clock some days. 10 o'clock some days if I know I need to get there late for something. But I'm not going in before then.
Well, you've also posted before your commute. It's somewhat smaller than mine.
That is true.
Yes.
So I have to drive for nearly 40 minutes.
Yeah. I did that for college. I'm glad I don't got to do that anymore. We hate being adults.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awful.
Had enough of that. Can we stop?
I wish.
Alright, so we should probably look at some news instead then.
What have we got on the docket?
So, I guess we can tangent off MMOs with the big hubbub about we got some details on PSO22.
Please do. Yeah, it is PSO22.
The fingers!
So you're basically able to port everything over except for like body paints and a few select cosmetic items. It's going to just continue PSO2 running. Your character will carry over completely. All its progress will, from what I've read this. There'll be a few very select things that won't. All the gameplay relevant stuff will. Body paint, emotes that if you want to use, you can use the old emotes apparently, but in PSO22, which is PSO2 NGS, but I will forever, it's New Genesis or something like that.
It is New Genesis.
But I think calling it PSO22 actually makes more poetic sense anyway.
Yeah. Also,
also there are a lot of people in tutus.
Well, not yet. Most of them are wearing fish.
That's only because it's summer.
Yeah, give it time.
Wait,
Fish is in season.
Fish is in right now.
it's sleuth fish season.
Also,
But,
slutty fish.
No, just fish.
Oh, I've seen slutty fish.
Well, aren't all... Never mind, that's a bad joke. I can't go there.
Let's not go there.
23 mates in that boss fight. 23.
Good gravy.
I'm bad at this game.
Her pimp hand was strong.
It was extraordinarily strong, and I got hit by it a large number of times.
She did not like you by the sound of it.
Oh, she liked him too much, I think, is the bigger problem. He
Very
wanted her to
snappable.
call her mommy. But, so yeah. Basically, it is confirmed to be PSO2 2. It's not some spin-off wonkadoodle game. It's actually PSO2 2. You're going to keep all the progress you've made. You're going to keep all the titles, all that kind of stuff. The only thing that's not going to be compatible with PSO2 2 is select body paints and a few emotes, which you can still do. They're just not going to look very good.
Okay. I mean, considering my character's a robot, a lot of them look weird already, so that's nothing new.
I can only dream of FGO2 being like that, but I know it won't be because it's a gacha game.
I mean, this is a gacha game. It's just all the gachas are outfits.
Yeah, they're not integral parts of the gameplay, though. That's the thing. In FGO, they are, which is why
I don't know about that.
Well, there's a difference between a servant wearing a swimsuit and not wearing a servant not wearing a swimsuit mechanically, which is bigger than an EXP boost. So I've got existential dread over the end of FGO that is looming closer by the second.
Yeah. Well, the story ends at the end of Arc 2, I think, is what Nesu said. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, as far as PSO goes, though, we have the game carrying over number one. I'm trying to go through all the features again and refresh my memory as I'm talking about them. And the biggest thing they've been pointing out, the biggest section of this is dedicated to fashion. Like
not only is it why people play it, but it's also where they make all their money. So
yeah, so the big selling point that's become a community meme is there are fingers you can move with the new emotes, and this is just wonderful, and people love this, and they made this a selling feature.
There's going to be a one where it's just jazz hands or something.
yeah, just got to show off that hardcore finger tech.
Yes.
Oh, I've all ran out of space in this room, so I can't vandalize it anymore.
I still only have like 5 units of space in my room. It's enough to put a carpet in.
You have a Warple pillar now, but
I still have my creepy window alien, and I ain't removing it.
But there's one part of this that confuses me still, and they have not done a good job of clarifying, despite trying to clarify twice. Is they're updating the engine for PSO2. So do you need the new game to play the new content? Nobody's really sure.
No, they're updating the engine for PSO2, but it's a separate game.
Yeah.
It's just they're giving it a facelift in addition to producing an entire separate game on the side.
That you can also port your character in progress from.
Yes. They're basically just expanding the entirety of the platform, and you just happen to be able to use the same character for both games. So
yeah. So I can take my lady with bouncy bits, and Vol can take his I'm not even sure a good descriptor for yours that's funny. And Vern can take his banana hammock robot man over to the new game.
I only prefer to put the banana hammock on when I feel like traumatizing people.
Or, it's Beach Wars and you could have got bonus drops.
I think pretty sure the buff actually still applies even though it's on but under the armor.
It does, but it's not as fun.
Yeah, but just remember, I need to look at it as well. And
this is true.
The animation while you're using those boost pads with a banana hammock, no. Like, I will traumatize other people all day, but I only have a limited amount of that I will traumatize myself.
Dang it, Fern. You and Vol need to both get bigger rooms by paying EX cubes for personal use so I can vandalize them more.
Just putting random crap in our room so you don't need to carry it around.
Yes. You both have a Whirlpool pillar now.
Damn it.
Yeah, I sell those when I get them. I get so many.
I know. I have 35 of them in my bank
Why are you banking waffle pillars?
in case I need to feed them to my Mac.
I accidentally did feed one to my mag once. I regret it deeply.
It was an error.
It was an error.
So yeah. Yeah, you can move your fingers. There'll be new emotes that are exclusive to the new game that actually allow finger movement. There'll be new outfits that fit with the new animations that are going to be allowed in the new game. There'll be a whole bunch of stuff like that. And yeah, it's looking like, okay, cool. I like PSO2 as a time waster.
Mm-hmm.
It is very good for that. There's vastly less thought required to play it. It's much more. While it still operates under the same premises as most hotkey MMOs, there's much less thought required to play it. You can do the combat much more spammily than you can for things like Terra, in that where, at least back in the incarnation of Terra that was actually good, you still had to think very carefully about how you fought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every single button press really mattered in Terra, or you would die.
Or at least it did in the old days.
Yeah, or you'd get carpet bombed.
Yeah, you just go splat and that would be the end of it.
Yeah, it was a very different pace of action game, even though they look superficially similar.
Yeah, you had to be very deliberate with every action you took in Terra, or bad things would happen to you from level 1.
Fighting a band was a big deal.
And speaking of action games, have either of you seen that footage of that new Chinese one that everybody's talking about?
The Wu Kang one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like to you?
Hard to parse without feeling the flow of the buttons and what's cancelable, but it looks okay.
Like, is it more like Dark Souls or Sekiro or Devil May Cry or God of War, or what does it look more like to you?
People are saying Devil May Cry when they see it, but I don't get that vibe. I get closer to an older God of War feel when I see it, but I don't know, because in Devil May Cry it's defined by how you can cancel the moves and what kind of wonky technical stuff you can do, and just discover on your own by accident because there's so much crap to do. So I don't know if this game will have that kind of depth and that kind of game feel, because that's the thing with action games, right? It's all about how they actually feel when that you play, and that's not something that's easy to quantify.
I didn't really get a Devil May Cry feeling from looking at it either. It didn't give me that impression at all. Like,
Yeah.
It's got the wrong sort of camera for starters.
Yeah. Devil May Cry usually has very pulled back camera, except in the most enclosed environments. And this game did not appear to have that. It looked like it was behind the character the whole time, and it just didn't feel very Devil May Cry-y from the way it looked. But it's an action game. Action games are about feel, and if you can't actually play it or get reports on how it plays, it's hard to parse.
It looked more dodge-centric than God of War does.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't feel like any of the Souls games from what I saw. It's too fast for that, even for Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne. Bloodborne might be close-ish, but it depends on... Bloodborne's defined by the damage output the enemies have more than anything in its combat. Everything murders you in Bloodborne.
What about Ghost of Tsushima?
Ghost of Tsushima might be an apt comparison, but Ghost of Tsushima is weird with its combat, because you have a whole lot of tools and options, and it plays much more like a Horizon Zero Dawn than it does an action game.
Well, according to the legend, Wukong has a gajillion different magic objects that he can use to fight with.
Well, Journey to the West is like a billion years long, and he has goodness knows how many things in that book.
Oh, well, come on. Journey to the West, Wukong is like 4 times immortal by the time the story actually starts.
Yeah.
So, he's
constantly
ridiculously broken.
He's still a twit, though.
Oh yeah, he's an absolute piece of work.
But I mean, the part of the shtick of Journey to the West is that you can't move for magical objects.
Yeah,
Like, they're basically raining from the sky half the time. Like, everything is some sort of magical artifact which does some kind of weird novel thing.
Yeah.
So I expect that this game will be very heavy on doohickeys.
Yeah, so there could be a lot of tools there for him to play with. It also, the story is apparently, they don't tell you which Wukong is which, but one of the Wukongs is the real Wukong, and one of them is the fake Wukong that you see in the trailer? Or in the gameplay demo?
Couldn't Wukong just make shadow clones?
I think he could,
Pretty sure
but
he
he
I
he
know,
also-
I know that that's a thing in that's a thing in League of Legends. I don't know whether or not it's a thing in the original story.
Yeah,
I
I'm pretty
would
sure it is.
I would say better than even odds it is.
I mean, he has
I would
laser
say
eyes
better
in the
than
original
even mod,
story.
but I don't know it. Well, the thing is that there's very little he can't do in the original story.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff he does is because he just decides to do it.
I mean, the reason why he was subjugated by Heaven to begin with was because he was too powerful.
Then they drop a mountain on him.
Yes.
Just leave him under the mountain
Left him there for
Until-
500 years until they needed someone to escort this monk here.
until Senzong showed up and was like, "Hey, you're coming with me now. The god said so."
Pretty much.
Presumably, this one didn't have big boobies.
No, that one did not. Well,
Hey, we
not all the time.
Hey, we managed to get boobies onto the show. I was wondering if we'd be able to pull it off. We haven't gone like 20 shows without mentioning them at least once. Ooh, I can English good today.
You can do words.
Well, I got Sanzang last GSSR, so
Yeah. You gotta love the old Chinese stories, actually. Like, between that and Romance of the Three Kingdoms, they like their ham.
I hope Fern's okay on his end, because sometimes at the end of his sentences he goes full robot for me.
yeah, he's been cutting in and out all day for me.
Okay, well, I think... it'll be okay on my end. I think Discord's
I've
just
heard
being
that
Discord.
before.
As long as
Do
we're
you
not
even know if
playing
we're still streaming?
Yes, it
I
is.
checked at the very start to make sure they could still hear us. But
Yeah.
I haven't checked since the break.
Well, I've got the green lights, but the green lights also lied last time, so there's that.
Yeah, I was
No.
traumatized last time. I don't want to be traumatized again.
Okay. But yeah, that's the Wu Kang game. It's really hard to tell. A lot of people say they can tell just by looking at. They're lying.
Yeah, they are. Anyone who does that is blatantly lying.
Well, I mean, if they are saying a thing on the internet, I mean,
It's a
who would
safe
do
bet they're
this?
lying if they're saying it on the
Who
internet.
would just go on the internet and tell lies?
Literally everybody.
Jeez, that's... I'm trying to remember where that meme was originally from now.
I think
I
it's
don't
South
remember
Park.
it from either.
But yeah.
I mean, it's
So
fun.
it looks good. It does look good.
The
Like
last-
it looks like a competently put together action game from the trailer. But it's also even though it's a gameplay trailer, it's heavily curated.
Yeah, they
from-
generally
from-
are, unfortunately.
At least the one I saw. So
Well, we don't have any precedent for it though, because this is a made by a studio from China that is not Tencent. So what data do we have to draw from, really?
yeah, it's also that means when the inevitable war with China happens, we won't get it. But
Yeah.
but
On the plus
that's
side,
also
though,
a thing.
it's Journey to the West. It's like the most trodden path of all. So, unless they're going to keep it religiously to the original story, I don't think we're missing
No,
anything.
that I think they
There's no way
explicitly
to
said
do
they
that.
weren't intending to do so. They were trying to make a sort of like a dark and edgy modern version sort
See,
of thing.
that's what it is. Whenever someone does Journey to the West, it's either a dark, edgy version or an outrageously silly version. The original
Well, the
version
original
is
was-
originally silly.
Yeah, the original is outrageously silly, so it seems
Yeah.
like you're gilding the lily a bit there.
Yeah. So,
See Pigsy.
you don't... Well, Pigsy's just an absolute crap. You don't see anyone doing a faithful story of it. Possibly because it might be a bit too silly.
Well, it was an epic. Maybe the like you're only seeing like Western content though. I expect that people have done long running TV dramas which just tell the story more or less intact.
There was
in
one
China.
in the 70s, I believe, which I actually watched as a kid, called Monkey Magic. It was originally made in China, and then
And then
dubbed
given a
poorly.
retarded new name in English.
Yes. Well, actually, no. It was originally called Monkey Magic in China as well.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Anytime I've seen
It was a direct translation.
Yeah. Anytime I see a coherent retelling of the Journey to the West in some kind of media, my only thought is that poor horse. He's the only straight man in this group
Yeah, but he doesn't do anything for most of the story.
because his thing is to be the straight man.
When he does anything at all. But he's a dragon.
Yeah.
He's got no reason to be as lame as he is.
No,
But-
he's Lu Bu.
He is also Lu Bu, depending on the story.
This sounds like a Dynasty Warriors thing.
It's actually an
That-
FGO thing.
That was an FGO thing.
Oh, that's right. It was an FGO thing.
Yeah, so their logic was Lu Bu has a horse, therefore Lu Bu fills the role of a horse.
But the thing is, in the next Singularity, they introduced Lubu's horse as a separate servant.
Yeah. So,
Like,
I don't know.
Red hair who thinks that he is Lubu.
Because he's some sort of weird centaur thing, isn't he?
Yeah, because he thinks he's Lubu.
Yeah.
But he's not Lubu, he's Lubu's horse.
Because, fate logic.
That makes total sense. No part of this requires explanation.
The DNA digivolved.
Or something.
No, they didn't. They're entirely separate individuals.
It's just,
As
this is
far
a
as we
horse,
know.
and it's dumb, I guess.
But yeah.
They always make adaptations of Journey to the West and Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I wonder if Water Margin is really so bad that nobody ever adapts it.
Maybe.
Although I've heard that the traditional wisdom regarding the Water Margin is that young men shouldn't read it because they might become bandits.
I see. So that sort of thinking hasn't changed over the last, ever.
Yeah.
No, it's all still the same. Everything is the same as it ever was, even in 2020.
The cursed year.
Just so you know, in our notes for the politics show, we have 20 effing 20 as the descriptor for 2020.
I mean,
all the other years are listed normally, not 2020.
The history books are going to list this as 2020 Part A through F or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they just have to invent a new calendar system because writing about what happened will take too long.
Every history book will just have 20 effing 20 as a whole, 3-week course.
Yes, the year that the world burned.
I don't know. I feel like because of the sort of much ado about nothing nature of our culture, that it's actually going to turn out that 2020 will be a footnote because nothing that happened really mattered in the end. Oh, and then they had this big storm in a teacup, and then they had another storm in a teacup, and then they had another storm in a teacup, and then it was over.
And then through the entire 20th century, we were spent all the time sweeping up teacups.
Maybe. Might be the other way things tend to go. Like, it's something that mattered, so therefore everybody ignored it.
I hate our current year. Can we just skip ahead?
Yeah.
Most people are putting their bets on 2022.
Not much hope for next year already, are there?
Yeah, most people are thinking that it's probably just best to sleep through 2021.
Alrighty. Anyway, what other news does we has?
We has a newslet. The poor Madoka Magica mobile game didn't last a year, and from what I understand, this was all localization problems.
Considering it's Madoka,
Did
did
they let Crunchyroll get involved?
I have no idea what happened with it, but everybody complains about the localization generically when they talk about this thing, and they don't ever get specific. Which is, it's a little... I like Madoka a lot. I like the Madoka universe a lot, but it's just, they don't do the right... They don't handle it right in the West to begin with. They don't market it, they don't push it out and make it a big deal. It's always flash in the pan. Look at this cool little manga that came out. Look at this little mobile game that came out. And it gets forgotten about again until, something big happens again. And then people forget about it. It's always flash in the pan stuff.
I can't really speak to it. I always thought Madoka was very bland. It never resonated with me in the slightest.
But, yeah. It's just a newslet that's been surprisingly talked about a lot. I've seen a lot of news outlets covering that it's closing. And I don't know if it's because it's a slow news week for video games.
I think that what they know is that everybody clicks on a headline with Madoka in the title.
Yeah, I think that's the case. It hasn't actually... Well, it should have been a fast week because Gamescom happened.
But game conventions in general don't really happen anymore.
No, they just exist.
In the conventional sense.
Even E3 season isn't really worth covering by itself anymore.
No.
Because there just aren't enough impactful announcements to warrant a special week for it.
No. We can do a quick flip
down.
And
virtually, and the more virtual they go, the closer the line blurs between, say, an E3 announcement and the leaks that happen immediately before the E3 announcement. Because if there's no convention, then those two things suddenly become the same.
Yep.
the leaks and the actual announcements are indistinguishable from each other, aside from the stagecraft to begin with. And if the stagecraft is gone, well, what is there to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't got Keanu Reeves or somebody, or Microsoft dropping a big giant car on the stage again, there's nothing to talk about. There's no reason to wait for the reveal.
Still can't believe they actually did that, because here's a car, and it's gone.
Why do they always do that sort of crap? And they always get some sports star that only sports fans know.
Yeah, that's EA's trick, is usually that one.
Well, I remember when they brought in Jose Mourinho, and I'm like, I wonder how many people there know who Jose Mourinho is.
I didn't.
Like,
he's
well known. He's well known in Europe as a football manager. Like, if you follow like the Champions League or the Serie A or something, like, you might know of him. But if you're not an avid follower of football, European football specifically, and when I say European, I actually mean continental European, because there are probably even people who are just fans of the Premiership League who don't know about him, because I don't think he's. I think it's been probably like 20 years since he coached or managed for a Premiership team. So there's a whole generation of fans that have been born since then. But yeah, it seems like a very strange thing that they just always try and find like D-list celebrities to bring on, or people who were A-list celebrities 20 years ago.
Yeah. So, quick list of announcements. Let's see. We got a game about patting dogs in virtual reality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's time that we've got another dog petting simulator, is it?
It is called You Can Pet the Dog VR.
I see.
The only one that I actually really got excited about and then immediately disappointed was its new Sam & Max game. I like Sam & Max. Guess what? It's virtual reality.
Yes!
Although,
actually play that.
The humor at least sounds like it's on point. It's like your character is, or basically you were drawn in by virtue of just being there. Like you're a random passerby on the street and you just get dragged into their nonsense.
It's just still such a drain on budget to make something VR. Like
it's
until somebody comes up with a tool set that allows VR environments to be generated easily, the way 3D environments now can after all this time, then it's always just going to be a humongous drain on development time and budget.
Yeah, like the technology is cool, but it's just not quite there yet.
Yeah,
verisimilitude gets better by the year, certainly, but the cost of making it good is ridiculously high.
Yes. So, I mean, what else have we got? Rune 2's doing a thing. Survival in the Middle Ages.
I didn't see anything at Gamescom we're talking about.
What did they actually end up calling this game? Medieval Dynasty. It looks like it's basically ripping off, what was it called now? The one set in Bohemia. I can't remember what it's actually called at the moment.
Kingdom Come?
Thank you. That's the one.
I was about to say Scaramouche, Scaramouche.
Can you do the Fandango?
Oh, you said Bohemia.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, it does look like it's a bit more focused on a village as a whole rather than one dude, but yeah. What else we got? Deathground. It's basically a game about dinosaurs. That's really it. I'm stretching to find something actually worth talking about at a Gamescom, because they've given a lot of spotlight just to small stuff. Like really small stuff.
Well, you love really small stuff, though.
When it's got some charm and actual credibility to it, yes. Anything that has a trailer where someone is whisper talking in it, however, can die in a fire.
What? You
know that one where it's...
No, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch any of the content because I was so uninspired by the list of things that happened.
Yeah, no, I don't think... Cut words. I don't know if there was actually a trailer with whisper talking in it, but that's just a personal hate of mine, is whisper talking. Because you know whoever is doing it is about to say something incredibly pretentious. That's just how it goes in video games.
I'm still not sure
Well,
what you mean by whisper talking.
He could be narrating a nature documentary.
Yeah, okay, I'll give it sort of that one, but
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. He could be narrating a nature
for
documentary.
reference, Ari, the entirety of The Void. Just the whole game.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
And actually a good chunk of
Are you eating something?
Tacoma. Tacoma?
I was trying to swallow what was in my mouth before I unmuted the mic, and it didn't swallow all the way, but the sound was already coming out, so I just kind of rolled with it.
Too late. You ruined it. So, yeah, it's just a real hate of mine. Stop it. You're not being artsy, you're just being a twat. So, yeah, anyway, rant over. So, anything else aside from the complete nothing that was Gamescom?
So, I have to get the rest of this cheesy cracker out of my mouth, but there is one that I found particularly funny because the reviews have been hilarious to read.
Oh?
Madden NFL 21 has the new lowest user score on Metacritic.
It's really hard to mess up a Madden game. People don't ask for much.
But oh man, are they mad.
Because they messed it up.
So, from the most helpful reviews. An atrocious football simulation game, EA has greatly expanded the number of game modes in Madden over the past couple of years at the detriment of the depth and immersion of all modes in the game. The game added no features and is already anemic to its already anemic franchise mode and features many bugs upon release, such as rainbow-colored coaches, players wearing the wrong jerseys in some game mode, and blank fields that have no sidelines or hash marks, to name only a very select few.
I mean, if we actually started having actual football games where random players would just show up wearing the other team's jersey for no reason, make it a lot more interesting.
They tack on a story mode that serves only as an excuse to monetize the game further and advertise that it has a story mode.
So what this is basically telling me, really, is the general population is waking up to EA's business as usual practice.
So yeah, the general thing is or rather Madden 20 was apparently a really buggy mess of a game, but people excused it because it was just the yearly Madden. Mm-hmm. And they promised they would do better. And then they released something even worse.
They do that every time because, we made a mess, we promise we do better. And they don't. And
the bugs are apparently so bad that players are loading in with the complete wrong teams in games. Like, the game is...
I wondered why they make such a big deal about story modes in those sports games, because they always seem to, at EA presentation, E3 presentations and such, they always make a big deal about it. But I don't think anybody has ever actually asked for a story mode.
No, it ended up just being a gimmick, I think, to really just justify the annual release.
Yeah, it's something else to add in there to make it seem like you're not totally ripping people off. Yeah, and you've actually included something. But the thing is, you can only do the story mode thing once, and then it's expected.
Yeah, it ceases to be the gimmick; it becomes the norm.
Yeah, and so other bugs are the menus are so laggy it can take multiple minutes to traverse from the home screen to the game because the menus lag in loading. The AI is apparently so broken that it will sometimes just take the ball and stand there when it catches it off the kickoff. It's like there's a whole lot of stuff wrong with this game.
Football when the AFC has crashed.
Yeah, so the thing of note here is this is the dude bros you ticked off. This isn't the nerds that are autistically going to go after your game because you made some girl's hair the slightly wrong shade of pink. No, this is the dude bros who normally will just buy the next Madden because it's the next Madden. You made them mad enough to come downvote your game. What did you do, EA?
They did a dumb, by the sound of it.
It sounds like it.
A very, very big dumb.
Yeah, it's you see this kind of review bombing on big RPGs or big long-running franchise that have had a storied history and their fan base is dedicated and is there for the franchise itself. These are football fans.
Yeah, they're gonna play it and then crush a beer can on their forehead. That's your audience.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
We are literally talking about the most normie of normies here.
Yeah. There was another one that actually came out of Gamescom that made me say, why? And that is Definitive Edition of Age of Empires 3. You know, the bad one.
The one nobody played.
The one nobody played. Because they changed the game at a fundamental level and nobody liked it.
Yeah, I think I might own it because it came as part of a package or something.
I've got a copy floating around somewhere.
I've got a lot of games I didn't know I had floating around like that are just objectively terrible games that came in packs.
Oh, hang on. I've got 2 copies then, because I've got one on Steam, apparently. When did that happen?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have any of the Age of Empires on Steam.
Yeah, I got the other Definitive Edition. I've got 1, I've got 2, I got, Definitive Edition, the other Definitive Edition, Age of Empires 3.
I see.
So, graphically, Age of Empires 3 was nice, and there was some nice mechanics in it, but I think they just changed too much. It became grindy. Because they ended up with this ridiculous card-based system where you could build your army and civilization with it, and you could grind and unlock more cards for your chosen civ. So,
I see.
It just
sounds like this game seems ripe for a Seth video.
It might be too dull for a Seth video.
I think it's too dull for a Seth video, partly because there's no horrible genocide in it, and yeah, it's just not very good. He tends not to do videos on games he doesn't like. I've noticed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he often likes things for bad reasons.
This is very, very true.
He also
full disclosure, I actually did spend a lot of time playing Total Annihilation Kingdoms. I thought it was novel, but the parrots did drive me up the wall.
I've got to play that game. I've got it sitting in my library somewhere, and I loved the original Total Annihilation. And I was wondering how they could have messed it up.
Can you still buy it?
Yeah, it's on GOG.
Ugh. I don't know what GOG did to deserve that.
Kingdoms or the original?
The Kingdoms.
I think they just got them as a bundle deal, because you can buy them as a bundle deal.
Yeah, Cave Dog Abandonware.
Cave Dog went broke. Kingdoms ruined them.
Yeah, because they made Kingdoms.
They made Kingdoms and it sent them into debt. Because nobody wanted it and nobody bought it.
I have a rappy chair.
You do have a rappy chair. Bit of bad news of a game I was really looking forward to. Evil Genius 2 has been delayed.
Oh.
That's good news.
Why is that good news?
Because it's been delayed. It means they're going to work on it and make it an actually good game.
No, they're just trying to figure out a way to graft more microtransactions into it. You know, buy new traps and new henchmen and stuff or something.
It is a format that could very well lend itself to that.
Like Dungeon Keeper.
I don't know about Third Dungeon Keeper. What are you talking about? That game never happened.
For some reason, Fern is always very trolled if it gets mentioned, so I just figured it was a good time to mention it.
It's when someone just takes a steamy dump on your childhood.
You know, we say we love Fern a lot, but we sure do poke his buttons a lot.
You guys are mean.
We wouldn't poke your buttons.
I do things like, you know, I sent him whatchamacallits, tweets from Macaulay Culkin about how old he is.
Yeah! The zombie.
Yeah.
He does look kind of zombified these days. And has done for quite some time, in fact.
Yes.
But I think that's just what happens if you manage to survive being a child star in Hollywood without, you know, needing a colostomy bag installed.
Ugh.
Not to mention, he was part of the Michael Jackson fiasco and was like the only kid that didn't get, or the only person that didn't get caved to the prosecutors go and admit that Michael Jackson did stuff to you. It's like, nah.
Yeah, that's kind of how that whole thing devolved.
I'm still kind of appalled at that and how far under the radar it slid that, you know, this is now a man who is universally acknowledged as being guilty despite the fact that he was found not guilty every single time on well over a dozen attempts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, They had a hate boner for that guy, and they just did not get it to stick. No wonder he bleached his face and chopped his nose off.
Yeah, I mean, if he wasn't a basket case beforehand, he definitely was by the time it was over.
Yeah. All right. What other news do we have?
Didn't the PC team for Skullgirls implode or something?
They did.
Oh, Lab Zero. Yeah. So that team's been on. They were pre-infected with SJW rot before SJW rot was a thing. Like they were from.
Never forget.
They modded him out. It's okay.
Wait, who did they mod out?
Sonic Fox. Within 24 hours, somebody had a mod up that got rid of Sonic Fox when they put him in Skullgirls.
Ah.
That worked with the multiplayer.
Nice.
It literally just overwrit the map file with a different one and made all the parameters. Yeah, made all the parameters that online checks acceptable, so that it didn't look as a modded file. So somebody managed to get rid of him. And it took less than 24 hours.
Nice.
That is how much people hate Sonic Fox. But, Mike Cookie Z, or Mike Z, has been a raging feminist ally, social justice warrior type for a long time. The people he hired were all like this. He was crazy, insane, like full SJW mindset before it was even a thing. And when stuff went pear-shaped at his company, because SJWism set in well and true in the culture, it was inevitable this would happen. Because this is what happens when you have an SJW company. They need to eat somebody. And the piranhas just ate each other, from what I understand.
Yeah. Yep.
Like the whole company started accusing everybody of some kind of ism or tism, or some kind of ism in their tism, and now the company's all falling apart.
Was gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Keep your isms.
This is what happens when you try and, it's a society. In order to stand, there needs to be a certain common thread between the people involved. And if that common thread is to be the last man standing, well, you're not going to expect the society to work very well for very long.
And society's going to be left with one dude. Probably the dude that was hiding under a rock during all of it that came out when it was all over.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's the company's just basically, as far as I can tell, dead, or on its way to dead. I don't know if they can salvage it with the amount of conflicts they got going on. I've seen reports that every single division is fighting with each other.
Wow.
Over some kind of ism.
That's just a full-blown implosion.
Yeah, it's a full SJW war going on right now at Lab Zero. Now, there are conflicting reports on Lab Zero, so it's hard to tell what's true and what's not. But right now, it just seems like people are either being accused of having an ism or are doing the accusing of ism of someone else. And there doesn't seem to be anybody that's exempt from it.
Oh,
and yeah, it's not specific. There's no individual characters to call out in this particular fiasco. It's just the whole company has devolved into the natural final form of SJWism. Yeah, basically it's one big long refest.
Mm.
And of course this has put a stopper on all development, and the Wu Flu hitting and slowing down development was allegedly what caused all of this to start. Although how the Wu Flu and my isms got involved and mixed together is anybody's guess, but the SJWs will find any reason to accuse somebody of something, so I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. But yeah, that's what's happening at Lab Zero as far as I can tell. The farms thread is very confused because of all the conflicting information, and nobody can parse anything yet because we're getting different stories.
Wow.
It should settle down in a couple weeks, but yeah, they're all screeching so loudly. We gotta wait for information to settle down before we can get a clear picture of it.
All right. So that happened. This is the sort of thing... Oh, no, never mind. What else do we have? I think we're running towards the bottom of the pile at the moment.
We're already past the list of stuff I dumped in there, so...
Yeah. There's a few other rumors and things around the place, like the rumor of a Nintendo Switch Pro coming, but Yeah, that was probably going to happen at some point regardless.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way console life cycles go, right? Nintendo's weird with the Switch. They've desynchronized themselves from the rest of the console cycle, probably to their benefit, where they're releasing their new console upgrade at the time everybody else's new console is coming out, and they'll be releasing their new console when everybody else is putting out their new console upgrade.
Yep.
So when we have the Xbox Pro, they'll be releasing the Nintendo Game Tower for their next console or whatever.
Please don't be a game tower. Actually, that name's not nearly stupid enough. What is it with console names at like the last couple of generations? They're
Well, we've gone from Wii to Xbox. The next one will probably be the Nintendo Bobs.
I mean, that would be a step up, I think, is just the Bob. I want to play the Bob. Admittedly, Nintendo seems to have pulled out of the nosedive a little bit with the Switch. The Switch is actually a good name.
Well, they finally, yeah, that is true. But
yeah, but
they
immediately preceded it with the Wii U.
Yeah, they did. Which is immensely funny if you've ever watched Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
Wii U, Wii U, Wii U, Wii U.
Wii U. Seriously, go watch that movie. It's so ridiculous. It's great.
I didn't know about it until the Wii U was announced.
Oh, you came onto it later?
Yeah, I came onto it with the Wii U's announcement because of the Wii U, Wii U, Wii U, Wii U, Wii U memes.
They were everywhere. Let me see. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about WoW.
I don't either.
All right, so that's probably it for the show then.
Unless Paul's really up to hip on what's going on in WoW, I think we can call it there.
I'm technically speaking, I'm not really like I can't even really gauge the level of enthusiasm at the moment. It's a bit hard to tell, but yeah, I don't know how well it's going to go. This one, it seems like they might have found their groove again, but it all remains to be seen.
Yeah,
there's not really anything worth saying in particular.
Yeah, they're on the upswing of their expansion cycle. Like they've had their bad expansion, now they do a good one.
But we have never seen them get burned this hard by an X-Pack before.
Yeah, they've never gotten to the point where their superiors are looking at shutting them down.
Yeah, I think if Shadowlands actually fails or just doesn't succeed to the degree that the higher ups want, that might be the end of WoW.
It would be moving in that direction, certainly. They've burned so bad with Battle for Azeroth. They screwed up so badly. They're gonna have to pull out really hard to get out of this death spiral.
Yeah. There are some cool things about Battle for Azeroth, namely that the Baron Samedi analog. He's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going to appear plenty in the new one as well.
He does.
He's got a lot of fans. People are quite keen on him, but that's not enough to carry an expansion.
Yeah, one character will not carry an expansion.
See
Sylvanas. Oh boy.
Yeah. So we're at a very interesting point in the history of World of Warcraft. I'm actually excited to see either way, but I don't want to be a part of it at all.
Don't stand too close.
Yeah, just
the disease.
Stand and watch from a distance.
This is something you pull the binoculars out for.
You may think you're safe, but you're not.
Oh, there's tendrils reaching out saying, "Join us."
Yeah, they always come out of the woodwork. You won't talk to them for a year or two during the bad expansion, and at the end of it, that's when they come.
All of a sudden, they're like, "Hey guys."
Yeah, this happens every single time. At the end of the bad expansion, the last year, they start coming.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's like, wanna come play? The preemptive answer needs to be no on a macro, and then block that person from your chat.
It's too dangerous, man. It's too dangerous.
Might be a little extreme, but understandable.
These people only come to you when they want something out of you, and that is you to come play WoW with them.
Ah, dear. Doesn't help when half of them are family.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't have that problem, but
Alright, tell you what. I'll probably be going down to my brother's place in a week. And the most I would do is actually use his beta key.
no,
Then it doesn't
No.
even affect my computer.
no, you need to not touch it.
It's too dangerous, man.
Yeah.
They're coming for you.
They are.
WoW
They'll
is
get you.
WoW is bad for you.
It's a bad game.
It's not just a bad game; it's bad for you.
It is actually bad for you.
It wants to eat you,
It wants to eat my money.
turn you into a zombie.
It wants to get you stuck in guild drama.
Ugh.
You're gonna be an officer again, Fern.
No!
If you touch WoW, it's gonna happen.
No!
Did you just get done telling us how much you don't want that?
Yeah, that ain't happening.
You're gonna be one if you keep on the WoW train, Fern.
No.
I'm warning you. That's
Yeah.
gonna happen. And you're gonna be like, why didn't I listen to Ari? He had the he warned me and I didn't listen, and now I'm an officer again.
Guild drama. Always guild drama.
You know, I'm starting to think we're a little biased against WoW.
I think so. I mean, it's earned, I think, a good amount of criticism and scorn, admittedly.
They just can't be trusted to make either a good video game or a fun environment to play in.
No, it's when they sit down and say, "Oh, we're listening to people's feedback, and we acknowledge that our fan base has good points, and we realise we're going to learn from what they've told us and what we think we've done wrong." And then they go do the exact opposite.
Hey guys, WoW Classic was really good. Oh, by the way, we hate Hong Kong. Oh, we need to walk that back. Let's release Dire Maul.
Yeah, nobody likes Dire Maul.
That was the point they lost me, was their apology for Blitzchungus. Here's Dire Maul early.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to fight some ogres.
This
It's
is
an
Blizzard's
ogres.
usual response to criticism, is they throw something shiny and run in the other direction.
No, they throw something shiny and make someone gay.
Well, yeah, that's the other option.
They always like. I'm surprised we haven't seen any new characters become gay all of a sudden.
Because they've
Well,
run
how
out of
could-
characters. They've done it that
They
often.
can't. If everybody's gay, you can't have any new characters.
I guess that's technically true.
So, oh, we're gonna get arrested on the political show.
You're going to get arrested for this show.
We ain't that bad on this show.
Depends on whose standards you're using.
Yes.
If we go by like Lab Zero standards, we'd be on the guillotine already.
They had one of those in Portland the other day.
They had one outside the White House.
What?
Oh, did they bring it to the White House?
Yeah, they brought a guillotine to the White House and executed a Trump dummy on it.
Didn't hear. I missed that one.
This is where we are. This is our culture.
2020.jpg.
Oh, boy. All right, let us start packing up now that I have a nice little base here that is not being eaten by bugs.
All right, folks. I think that's where a good point in the show is. So, email topic of the week. Anything we talked about, really. If you want to, we will take emails for the political show, I think. If Fall's okay with that.
Just mark them as such in the description.
Yeah,
we
just
don't want to accidentally read that on the main show.
the political show will be rated R off the front. It may or may not turn out being that way. We're going to endeavor to keep it as clean as possible. That's not going to happen. But we're going to try. Yeah, just we're not rating that show. It's assumed we're going to get banned.
Yeah.
So yeah. Closing comments, go.
I'll be out for next week, so I bear absolutely no responsibility for whatever these two do.
Are you going on holiday or are you going to be working?
This is actually a holiday.
Man,
There
you
you go.
take more holidays than I do.
Well, this is the actual first holiday in quite some time.
Most of
No.
your holidays do seem to implode.
Yes, in some capacity.
Either they like catch you with the shepherd's crook as you're trying to get out the door, or you arrive at your destination and there's water falling from the sky the entire time.
I mean, there is Coof in Brisbane.
You'll be
At least
fine.
you're not going to Melbourne.
Coop's not real. It'll be
Well,
fine.
the threat in Australia isn't the coof. It's like if you're in Melbourne, it's what they do to you if you happen to be outside ever.
Yeah, they've got full
Like,
on lockdowns and curfews and all sorts of shenanigans
The
going on.
cops will come up and smash your car window and drag you out through it.
I haven't seen that, but I wouldn't be surprised
I
by
saw
it.
saw an article on it happening in Melbourne. Melbourne's gone like full on fascist police state at this point. Like
Yeah.
the cops have gone completely nuts with their power that they've been given.
This is why I hate defending the fuzz.
Oh, as far as I wouldn't put it at the core of the problem here. But
I don't know.
Well, they never should have been given the sort of powers that they have, and they are not trained to properly deal with that sort of authority.
Exactly.
But they've basically been given, you know, full authority to gulag anybody who's caught outside after 8 p.m. sort of thing.
And orders to do so.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't go to Melbourne. So just
Yeah,
as well, there's no PAX down there.
It was a
this year.
shithole before. It was a shithole before, but it's even worse now. I never really liked Melbourne much. Like, I rated Melbourne below Sydney.
You.
So
I don't mind visiting Melbourne for a short period. But that's it.
I cannot speak to Australian cities. But yeah. So, I think we're done, folks.
All right. Let's get out
We
of
need
here
to
then.
all right.
We will see y'all next week. Probably. Are we going to do the political show next week? Or are we going to...
We'll do it as soon as we've got a nice bit of time to do. Like, it'll all depend on when our schedules line up.
Okay. So we'll figure that out. It may surprise you next week for all we know, because we got to kind of take the first opportunity we got.
It'll also depend somewhat on how our planning goes.
Yep.
But yeah, the option is on the table as I floated the idea that this is the pilot for a periodical that we'll do. And my vision for what we do with the ongoing show, if we feel that it went well enough, is basically it will be a political show built on this week in memes. So the very best political memes that Ari finds on his week of trawling the Donald will basically act as the headlines for the discussion topics.
Yeah, I have gigabytes worth of image memes from the Donald and the Farms just sitting there on my hard drive.
It's not the worst concept I've ever heard of. I think
But
someone else has done it, but I can't remember who.
Less of a meme review and more as a memes are the best way to take in the news at this point, because God knows you can't actually use news sources.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that a meme is very much about, you know, getting to the heart of the matter and saying through an image the thing that everybody is avoiding saying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very good way of cutting to the core of what, you know, the normal internet goer sees in a particular topic, what they see as important.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll take this as we go. We're playing this one very much by ear. And we'll have maybe whenever the first pilot goes live, we'll have more information after that's done, probably. And it could surprise you next week. It could be a few weeks from now, closer to the election. We don't know yet.
And before you get feedback from Serathis saying it wasn't edgy enough.
Get in before the election if you can.
Well, yeah, we're definitely getting in.
Because you're going to need a second one afterwards.
The election is in November.
Yeah,
we've got time.
We got plenty of weeks. So we will see how that goes. All right, folks, I think we're done. We'll see you next week. Sayonara, bye-bye.